All right, good evening. Now that it is 6 p.m., I will call the Monday, June 12th Board of Selectmen's meeting to order. This meeting is being recorded for cablecast and YouTube presentation by Area 58 Community Access Media. The video of this meeting is not to be considered an official public record. All right, first on our agenda, we have got some gentlemen from Municipal Resources regarding their proposal for the town administrator search. So I'll turn it over.
Let me introduce Alan Gould and Bob Mercer from Municipal Resources, Inc. We reached out to them based on our search for a town administrator, and just as an aside, they also do fire services.
Ooh, yay.
So we're going to reach out again for that.
Perfect.
Okay, so you're on.
All right, I'll tell you a little bit about MRI. We've been in business a little over 25 years. Our corporate office is in Meredith, New Hampshire. We have an office in Massachusetts. We have one in Pennsylvania. And predominantly we work in New England, although we've done studies as far away as Aiken, South Carolina, public safety study, to Presque Isle, Maine. And if you're familiar with Maine at all, you can't get any more north than Presque Isle. So, and we've been as far west as, Western Maryland, Western Pennsylvania. But really, New England is our thing. And we do a lot of town manager, town administrator recruitments. I've served I'm a retired police chief in New Hampshire, and I've served in 3 places as the town administrator, twice. Community's a little bit bigger than this one. As a contract person for MRI, I assigned myself to those assignments as an interim administrator. And my first gig as a town administrator was when I was also the police chief in the town where I live, in Rye, New Hampshire. I was the police chief for 5 years. I was the town administrator and the police chief for a year. And then I was the town administrator for the next 2 years before I was recruited to MRI.
You've been very busy.
I loved it. We were building a public safety building at the same time, and I was the town's representative to that. So my last day as the police chief was my first day as just the town administrator, because the board didn't want me to retire as the police chief until I had 1 day in my new office. So
that was
really,
nice.
it was really neat. Yeah. And Bob Mercer has been a manager. I mean, you can give me your background a little bit?
Yeah, a few years. And I'm retired, and I've run the gamut from small towns. I was in Boxborough, filling in Boxborough, which is a 4,000-person community. In fact, it's interesting, they were going from an executive secretary to a town administrator, and they brought me in to sort of help them go through that process because they had never done it before, obviously. The primary manager jobs I've had have been in larger communities in Billerica, Massachusetts, and in Burlington, Massachusetts. Burlington is where I retired from. I've served also as an interim in Wayland, Massachusetts, another very nice, well-to-do town up in our area. And I started out my career as an executive secretary, basically, in Maynard, Massachusetts, home of digital equipment at the time.
I worked for them.
Did you? It seems to me like half the state worked for digital equipment at the time, but
yes.
That was my beginning. So I, unlike Alan, have not been a police chief, nor did I aspire to be a police chief. I preferred to be their boss.
So, and you didn't want us to come and talk about ourselves, but I just wanted to give you a little background on us. So, today we were in Upton all morning where they were doing the Board of Selectmen was doing the final interviews for their town manager. So that should be coming to a close Wednesday when they take a vote. Mm-hmm. And I'll just suggest that if I could pass out a couple of things, just something to leave with you. You should not hire us or any other firm based on what we say to you. It should be based on what you find out that other people say about us. So a few unsolicited comments there. And this is a list of our recruitments. You can feel free to reach out to anybody. So basically, we can help you with the recruitment. Our comprehensive package deals with everything from writing the ad, and we can write the job description. We place the ads. We receive all the resumes. We acknowledge all the resumes. We will develop through speaking with you folks and speaking with other stakeholders in the community. We'll learn enough about the community that we're able to put together usually 5 essay questions. So we would make a cut from the original list of candidates. We'd make a cut down to probably, 10 to 15. We call those the top tier candidates. We'd send them 5 essay questions. 2 of us at MRI, likely in this case it'd be Bob and I, would review all those essays, maybe make another cut. And while we're reviewing the essays, somebody in the office is doing a preliminary background check, really public domain search of all the candidates. These are mostly probably people that have that they've served in the public sector before. If there's something out there about them, we'll find it out. Plus, we have a really extensive network. I mean, you're seeing Bob and I'm president of the company. Like I said, we've been around for 25 years. On any given day, there are probably 30 people for us that are out working, whether it's public safety projects, police, fire, assessing. We do a lot of assessing in New Hampshire and Maine. Finance, we have finance experts that work for us. So we put together a pretty good team. So we would reach out through that network to see if we can find out anything behind the scenes about candidates that we might be looking at. We would then do a phone interview with the candidates. There'd be 2 of us on the phone interview, and we'd be able to discuss their essays with them, so ask follow-up questions, really kind of make sure that they wrote the essays. And we'd be able to ask them about any of those things we might have found out. I call it baggage, when we did our public domain search and our network search. Typically, we then make that cut to it really depends at that point what the community wants to do. So there are many communities that say, Alan, just bring us 3 people to interview. And we do that. In that case, we would convene what I call my panel, the MRI panel here. We would come here with 3 of our folks that are all managers, and we would do those interviews. We want to get the candidate here because we want them to be here before they interview with you folks. So we would do on-site interviews. We might interview 5 or 6. And then make a cut to 3, and then schedule interviews with you folks to do your interviews. In some communities, they like to involve the community, so they can be a community panel. And in that case, I would facilitate the community panel. Bob would facilitate the professional panel. At the end of the day, we'd get both panels together, reach consensus, and then bring several candidates to you folks. That can all be done in one day. I mean, we've done them where there's the community panel, the professional panel, and the Board of Selectmen panel. We can mix it up anyway. We've done the panels during the day and then kicked the 3 people forward to the Board of Selectmen that evening. In Upton, it happened to be that we did the community panel, the community and professional panels all day Saturday, and we had scheduled the Board of Selectmen interviews for today. Because you want to keep these processes moving. You don't want to lose people along the way that might be involved in other processes. So we don't hurry it, but we move deliberately through it. If it lasts much more than 60 to 90 days, the market is going to change, the pool's going to change, you're going to lose people, and we don't want to see that.
Can you talk a little bit more about the process of how you involve, we're moving from a town coordinator to a town administrator. And the town coordinator really just worked for the selectmen. Mm-hmm. But now we're moving to where, in effect, it's a town manager.
And do you have a job description?
We have a very generic one that we made up.
Because we do a lot of wage and classification studies in Massachusetts and New Hampshire, and virtually every one of those wage and class studies, we do job descriptions for each of the positions that are subject to that wage and class study. So, we're able to give you some samples, or we're able to look at yours and kind of tweak it based on our experience in the field of doing this work so much. But, one of the things that we do early on, it's very important for us to understand you folks, what you want, what you need, and understand your community. So we would do that I typically do an individual phone call with each of you so that we can get your input. What is it you're looking for? What are the strengths you need? Are there any weaknesses that can be tolerated? And what are the challenges for the community moving forward? Because for the person to be a success, they're going to have to meet those challenges. We would create an email that would be, that would have your name on it. It would come to us. So in this case, it would be plymptonta@mrigov.com, and anybody can send us an email to provide us feedback. We then group those emails by common theme, so I would look at them all, and somebody in the office would help me group them by common theme. We can turn those over to you folks so that you can also see what it is that people submitted to us confidentially. That's why we kind of rewrite them, paraphrase, and group them in common themes. We've met with senior centers, we've had open listening sessions where we schedule, from 3 to 6, we're going to be in town hall, and people can drop in and talk to us and tell us what they think or what they need. So any of those things, we tailor the system to the process rather, to what your needs are, so that when you get ready to make your decision at the end, you have stakeholder input and people have bought into the whole process.
Al, can I follow up?
Yeah,
John, you mentioned you created the town, and I think you mentioned to us, you went through town meeting, created the position of the town administrator, and Alan asked if there was a job. You did not, or did you do that through a special act of the legislature? You didn't do it through a town charter? Okay, so you just created the titled position without a definition as to what the responsibilities were going to be?
Correct.
Okay, so my suggestion is you're going to need some help defining that? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we did that, not the last town meeting, the town meeting before we created the position.
Yep.
But we didn't fund it.
Yep.
This town meeting, we actually set up the funding for it. But we've got a lot of people, some of the finance committee is here,
Yep.
other people who have a stake in this, and it's not like we can say this is definitively what we think it should be. And that's one of the, out of the process, we would like to get to that before we get to the final three candidates.
Oh, that's
That's crucial.
That is crucial. We do something at the very early end called the Ideal Candidate Profile and Challenge Statement, and we make that available to all the candidates on our website. So that really identifies what it is that you are looking for the skills, the attributes, the character, stuff like that, and then it defines what the challenges are. So if I was interested in being a candidate, I'd be directed to the MRI website, I'd pull up Plympton, I'd look at the Ideal Candidate Profile and Challenge Statement, and I'd be able to see how I fit with that statement. And, you know, you're looking at building a building, so there's a capital project that you're going to be doing. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that you have, kind of challenges. Tonight, you're going to be talking about your goals. So, you know, it would be important for us to identify those things for the candidates, because we don't want anybody in the process that isn't a good fit. And then when we get down to the end, ultimately, you folks decide which the best fit is. We'll put people in front of you that we know can do the job and that we think will be a good fit, but that final fit is always up to you.
Yeah.
So that first step, taking our somewhat generic job description, you're going to help us with that to
Yes.
spiff that up to the level, once you know us and know what our goals are.
Right. And we could give you a couple of samples as well and say, you know, what do you think about this one, or what do you think about that one? So, you know, that can go two ways. We can flip you those samples, or you can send us what you have, and then we'll look at that. We have a person that just specializes in HR. She oversees all our wage and class studies. She writes a lot of the job descriptions in Massachusetts, so we'd have her take a look at it as well. There are certain legal things that need to be in there. You have you know, anti-discrimination clauses that have to be in there. How much is the person going to have to lift? What are the conditions that they're going to work in? That's all legal stuff that has to go into every job description, so that if there's ever a potential disability, you have to know what the essential job functions are, and that would help you determine whether or not that person can do the job. So it's very important that be in a job description.
So in the document that we have that describes your services, it sounds like sort of two paths, and one is where we do have a representative committee of a lot of different people in town, and you work that way, or sometimes you work much more just through the selectmen without a big committee to go through.
Right. I mean, you know, probably more than 50% of the time, the bulk of it falls on us. We're always happy, and if you have a committee, it's what's the charge of the committee. So some towns and cities will have a search committee with a charge that says they're the ones they're going to recommend the finalists. You know, my preference, particularly in the smaller towns, is that you rely a little more on our professional backgrounds. So, you know, I would say that if you want to engage the community at that end stage, that you have an interview panel, a community interview panel. And you can ask just for letters from folks that want to participate, or you can select people, like you can say, we want a representative from the schools, we want somebody from the business community, somebody from the clergy. You know, you decide who it is that you want at that table. We facilitate that interview. Our interview goes on in another room, and then you've got that feedback from those folks.
But the place where you see that community committee, if we have such a thing, is when you've already winnowed this down to 5 candidates or 3
5 or
candidates.
6.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to do the winnowing down before that.
Right. You know, and I can't actually think of, the only time it would be any different is if we get to 10 or 11 candidates, those folks that we do the phone calls with, whoever makes it through the essays and the phone calls, in some of the larger communities, they may have a search committee, and they want to see those 10 people. And so we'll send them all those submittals. they'll search through them. But really, at the end of the day, we kind of have veto authority because we're the folks that have been doing this so they could say, oh, we don't really have much interest in this person. And we could be thinking, this is the best person. And I won't cite examples, but I can tell you that I've kind of used that veto authority before where a committee said, oh, we have no interest in that person. And I said, well, you know what? Then he's either going to be number 7, or we're going to figure out which one you're not going to bring forward. And when we brought him forward to the interviews, that person was number 1 with our panel, was number 1 with that committee that had no interest in him, and then got the appointment. And because we're professionals in trying to determine probability of success.
Yeah.
And sometimes the residents aren't. They're better at determining fit. So that's how we like to use the residents.
So are there times that we end up with maybe 5 candidates, but the sense is it's kind of a mediocre group of 5? And if so, what do you do?
The first thing we do is go back through the pool to make sure we didn't miss anybody. We have a way that we rank them, that we score them. But if we get to the end and there's nobody that we're comfortable with, we just do it again. And we do that for free. If they don't last a year here, and I think I included some of the language of that guarantee in the contract, we just do it again. The only thing you have to pay for the actual cost of the advertisements, because we haven't been in business this long by not doing the right thing by our clients.
So you'd be comfortable if you end up with 5 candidates, and you'd be comfortable saying to us, well, we have 5 candidates, we're not at all sure there's anyone special, and we feel like we got to go back and start.
Absolutely. Happens very rarely.
That was my next question.
Well, I just did it in a New Hampshire police chief search that I was doing. We did it in one relatively large Mass community. They actually had a couple of good people at the end, and they both withdrew. I'm sorry, one withdrew, the other one they couldn't come to terms with.
Right.
So we just said, we're just going to do it again.
And you did.
And we did.
I was serving.
You were the interim.
I was the
He
interim.
there, and that's how we met, actually.
Telling them to hustle along and get a replacement for me.
So a couple of examples of the essay questions, just out of total curiosity.
Sure. So let's just say, well, first of all, you probably don't have any unions here?
Anyway?
Oh, you do? Okay. So, some of the questions are strictly about Plympton, and some are going to help us determine their level of experience. So we'd want to know here, you don't have a lot of people that you can delegate tasks to here. So the person that sits in that chair is the chief cook and bottle washer, because I've been in that chair, right? So you have to have the finance piece, some amount of finance piece. The HR piece probably falls on that person. Overseeing department heads to some degree. They may report to you by agreement, but they report through the administrator. Again, that comes down to the crafting of the job description. So, it's really kind of figuring out those things, and we want to know those up front. So an essay question could be, please describe to us your experience in negotiating collective bargaining agreements, administering a collective bargaining agreement, disciplining employees, and building a budget. So that's going to be something that we evaluate in a technical way. Now, a question that might be really specific to you folks would be, the town of Plympton is in the process of building a police station or a public safety building. Please describe to us your experience in capital projects, managing capital, stuff like that. So I can't tell you what the questions would be until I know you better. But I know that there would be one on there kind of, we want to find out their experience in some of these technical areas that can get you in trouble the fastest. HR and finances are probably two of the big ones. Mismanagement of either of those, significant consequences for you folks.
And so the process, as you've described it here, is often 60 or 90 days. If you want it to be kind of compact. And how soon after that typically is a candidate available to start work?
So if you were doing interviews today and you made a conditional offer, your vote would be to authorize Alan Gould to make a conditional offer to so-and-so candidate on your behalf. That offer is conditioned upon really 2 things, a satisfactory background investigation and negotiation of terms of an employment agreement. So I get that to them the next day, they sign it, return it to me. we send them our background questionnaire. We do a very extensive background, because to me, that's the most important aspect of the hiring process. That takes about 2 weeks for that background to be done. It's done by one of my, law enforcement folks. And during that 2 weeks, we're facilitating the contract or the employment agreement. At the end of that 2 weeks, both of those things are done. You'll have a background investigation document to review. We should already know what those terms of employment are, and they should have had a draft employment agreement. And we're able to give you the thumbs up, because I don't anticipate, if we get that far, that we're going to find anything in the background. You get the thumbs up, everybody signs. And then it really depends on how much notice they have to give their employer. It could be from 2 weeks to a month.
So usually not more than a month.
Correct. I haven't seen a notice more than a
I
month.
haven't seen more than a month either.
And last question for me, and I'll shut up. So every approach has pros and cons and good points and bad points. What are the weaknesses in the approach that you guys take?
I don't think there's a weakness. I'll tell you that the only place, in my view, that you go wrong is letting process interfere with the process. So we're going to move from A to B to C to D, whatever the final process is that we develop with you folks. Nothing here is spelled out. Here's our comprehensive plan. So we're able to kind of mix and match and make you comfortable with that fit. So really, the only is, I have been involved with community committees that can, I'll use the term hijack. There may be some political agendas among that committee, and you're paying us to make sure that that doesn't happen. So that's why I say we're deliberate in the process, because we're going to warranty this process. We're the professionals. At the end of the day, we're responsible for it. So, that I just don't like to see the process kind of go off course due to some involvement by a sector of the community. We're happy to involve the community, but we would still like to be driving the bus to make sure the bus gets to the destination on time.
Okay.
You had questions too, didn't you, John?
Yeah, I'm a little bit more on the process side. My concern is that we're a volunteer community.
Mm-hmm.
By and large, everybody in this room is, working for nothing. So we need to make sure that there's buy-in.
You.
There's buy-in across all the different
Yes.
constituencies we have. And even though we've got a generic job description, it doesn't, could be any town, where I'd like to see it get fitted down into where it's Plympton, and for the most part, everybody agrees on that. And I'm looking to you people to say that's got to be part of your process.
So a really nice way to do that is to schedule like a day in town. And we come down and we have meetings set up with your department heads, interview each department head for 15, 20 minutes. Just let them tell us what they're thinking that they'd like to see in a town administrator, how they want to engage with that person, what are the challenges for the community, all those things we talked about. So we would engage those individuals, and then we would have, do you have an active senior group in town at all?
Well, we have the Council on Aging. We certainly have about 25% of the town is senior citizens.
And that's
so.
usually the case. So, to meet with those folks is generally, there's a lot of institutional knowledge there, and we like to not leave that segment out. And then we can have just an open listening session for several hours during the day. Very often that would be late afternoon into the evening, so that, anybody can come, people that are in town all day can come and see us, or people that are away for the day can come back and see us in the afternoon or in the early evening. So we just schedule a whole day here, and it's just really listening to the community.
And I just did the one in Upton, and I was the one who was there for the day, and a notice went out from the Selectmen that MRI will be here to listen to what your concerns may be as residents of the community for the next town manager. So I just scheduled the time, I sat there, I got visits from regular residents who have been involved, some from the volunteer boards, what happens to my arrangement with the town and how I've been contributing to the town, members of the Finance Committee. Obviously, they were interested in somebody with a strong financial background, those type of things. We had somebody from the community development side come in and say, we're interested in doing some things here, but we're relatively limited in what we can do with infrastructure. So they wanted me to hear that one of those aspects of the next person has to be in some positive economic development. initiatives that they've done in some of the smaller towns. And again, smaller towns who want to retain their rural character and all that kind of stuff. How do you make that all work? So it was very enlightening in helping me. And I also individually talked to all 3 selectmen about what their expectations were for the next town manager. And keep in mind, they're dealing a little differently than what you are. They're coming off of a town manager, where they created the statute through a special act with a very definitive job description enclosed within that act. So they had a little more substance and organization to theirs. You're starting fresh from that. So I think we need to hear more from you, I think, Al, that I heard from them, because they already had something in place.
So they can reach us by, we're going to be here in town. They'll have that email address that's set up specifically for you folks. We'll see every one of those emails. They'll have my telephone number, and we return every phone call. We correspond. We return every email. So in person, on the phone, by email. So if somebody doesn't participate, they've had ample opportunity.
I'd like to give the audience a chance.
I had a couple questions, too. Do you do any recruitment?
Oh, yes. So, in any one of these recruitments, there's only one winner. So we look at the recruitments that, we know that there are up-and-coming folks. We know that there are people that maybe were number 2 or number 3, certainly top 5 people, and they weren't a good fit for this place, but we think that they'd be a good fit for this place. You have kind of a geographic limitation here to some degree, because you're not that central, so that's a little bit of a challenge. So we definitely reach out to candidates that we know of, either because they participated in other recruitments, or because we just know them through our network. And remember, we've got people that are plugged in with managers, police chiefs, fire chiefs, finance people, and so we're just kind of always looking for talent.
What is the fewest number of candidates you would feel comfortable with going with initially?
It only takes one, and so I would expect that we would have someplace between 30 and 55. Unfortunately, there are some advertising venues that come with other venues. So, for instance, if you get an ad in the Globe, it comes with another venue. It's part of a package, and I won't mention the name of that venue. But 90% of what we get is not good. It's automated. You got their resume because the word administrator matched up with the word administrator in the resume, so it's junk. I think in Upton, we had 77 candidates.
We did.
So there were really probably 30 that had any viability, and then we cut it to 15 for the essays. So, you're only looking for one. But I would think that for a community this size, and this size community isn't unusual for us to do, particularly north of the border, 30-ish, 30 or more. But again, we're looking for that one, and you could have 2 candidates, and as long as that one is right, we want you to see that one and say yes or no. So, but if that person's not in there, we're going to tell you, and we'll know really quickly, because we score the resumes in groups as they come in. We post them to our internal website, so I'm able to go on whenever I want. Bob is able to go on when he wants. I'll go on when there's 5 or 6 candidates posted, and I'll keep updating that. So if we get to the end, if we get to the deadline, and there's nobody really in there, then you'd be getting a call or a meeting with us, and we'd say, let's extend the deadline, let's repost this, because we're just not happy with the candidate pool. And that, this is a small community, the geographic challenges, I don't know what the salary is that you're talking about, but there are some challenges with this community.
Would you help us write the advertisement and recommend where we post it?
We generally do that. So what I would do is I would write the advertisement, give it to you folks for review and your input, and then it would come back to us, and then we would post that advertisement. And, for this one, we would do probably MMA for sure. We would do Rhode Island League of Towns and Cities. We would do New Hampshire Municipal. I said MMA. And we might do, because of the size of your community, we might do more of a regional newspaper. I like the Globe for mass jobs, but based on what I'm thinking you might be talking about for salary, you might want to target even a more local audience and whatever the bigger publication is in this area. And most of those publications, like the Globe, for example, we would typically run that for a Sunday or two. I can't remember what the package is because I don't place them myself. It's like a Sunday or two in print, and it's 30 days online. And they either go with, it's either Monster or Indeed as well. That's part of the package. So we want to get it out there. There may be people looking to relocate because of the lifestyle that you have to offer. That's very attractive here. But there may be people in the area that may not be a traditional candidate. And that's also what we're always looking for. So this is an entry-level-ish type position, just based on the size of your community. And I think it's important that you realize that. So there may be non-traditional candidates that are looking to make the jump into the public sector. So part of our job is realizing what experience they have that is relevant and transferable to this position. And we've done that. We've taken people that have no background in local government. Actually, there was somebody, Otis Air Force Base, a non-traditional candidate that we hired was the colonel on Otis. And he went to Ashland. We were doing the recruitment in Ashland. And, you know, normally a lot of recruiters probably would have cut him. He's a colonel, his full career has been in the military. And, but we kept him in because we do what I call an inclusive process. We don't cut anybody until it's really time to cut them, because it's only our time spent dealing with these people. We don't want to make any mistakes. So, you know, when you started to look at him a little further, Otis Air Force Base is a small city, not even that small a city. And he had civilian schools, police, firefighters, DPW. He had all the things a town or a city has. And he got the nod in Ashland. And he did a really good job for them until he decided to run for Senate. And, and he resigned his position, and he didn't get elected. So, you know, but so you have to be able to look for non-traditional folks as well that have transferable experience.
Yeah.
All right, do you guys have any more questions before we open it up to the audience? You all set, Mark? Okay.
Well, just one. If we decided on you all, you're able to start right away in the process, so we can get the clock ticking
Right away. So the first thing, one of the first things that we would typically do is write the ad. Because it takes at least 30 days, we're going to run the ad. So, you know, it takes just a matter of a couple of days to draft an ad and get it to you folks for your input. The ads are pretty short because you pay by the word in a lot of these venues. And what we do then is we, you know, for more information, go to MRI, and there'll be a specific address for this recruitment. So they would go there and we would post whatever you have for your budget. You know, if you have a strategic plan or a capital plan or planning document, any of those things, we would try to get those from you folks, post them on our website so that people can go and take a quick look. Within a couple of keystrokes, they can find out virtually anything they want about the town of Plympton itself. You know, what would be attractive, what's the population, what are the demographics, median income, you know, all that stuff. It's on Wikipedia and it's on your website. So that'll help them decide whether they want to be in the pool or not. So we keep the ad really simple. They go to our website for more information, and once we place that ad, that's when we really start engaging with you folks. That's when, you know, we would do those interviews. We don't need to know a lot about the community to write that ad. We need to know, we need to advertise the assets of the community, why people might want to come here, what the salary range is, kind of things like that. We want to
Some
get
of
them
the
interested.
challenges you may have here that we like to include in our candidate statement, so they can read up on that.
So we get the ad going, and then we want to take that time to get to know the community. And that's when we develop the ideal candidate profile and challenge statement. And that's really what gets into the nuts and bolts of your community. At the same time, that information is helping us craft the job description. And when all that stuff is ready to go, any candidates that are already in the pool, I have an administrator that would send the ideal candidate profile and the job description directly to the candidates, so they don't have to go looking for it. Now they can read it and they can say, oh, I'm not a good fit, and they can withdraw, or they can say, oh, I still really like this, I'm in. You know, then they stay in the process.
Excellent. You have anything else?
No.
Okay, anybody in the audience have any questions?
I do.
Holly?
You just said that this is an entry-level position because of our town. Could you expound on that a little bit?
Sure, it's your demographic. So, you know, you're not going to get somebody coming from a town that's experienced as a town administrator in a town of 10,000 or 15,000 people. Typically, they're not going to take a cut in pay, and then they're not going to go to a smaller municipality. So this is a place where it's got to be the right fit. Somebody wants to come here because of the lifestyle that it affords them. And that's a really good reason to get somebody, and you've probably got good longevity with a candidate that way, good tenure. But you're not going to see somebody transferring, again, because of the salary. So, we were in Upton today, and the posted salary is up to $135,000. I'm guessing that you're not going to be offering that much. Maybe you are.
We're around 95, am I right? I think-
That was an allotment for a part of a year. We didn't, right, we knew it wouldn't be a full fiscal year.
But wasn't that the thinking roughly in that range?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was higher than that.
It was 97 for 3/4 of the year, basically, and then.
To give us flexibility.
Oh,
Right.
So,
That's
generally, the larger the municipality, the more it pays.
Right.
So, your community of 2,500. So you wouldn't see somebody leaving a community of 100, where they're getting paid 135,000, 150, 160 to come to a job that's going to pay 115. So that's just one of those challenges.
So just a little bit of a follow-up. You said that may promote longevity, whereas in my mind, that promotes this person is using this as a stepping stone, so.
And we can't change that. So again, part of our job and part of, the job of the whole team, including your board, is to determine, why a person wants to come and what their longevity might be. I've been doing this for 9 years for MRI, and I can only think of probably 3 people, including police chiefs, fire chiefs, and town managers, administrators, city managers, that are not in the job that we placed them in during those 9 years. So we have a really good track record of predicting success, predicting tenure. But I'll also tell you that if you can get someone that's relatively new to the field and you're able to get 3 really good years out of them, I would say get all you can get out of those 3 years, and then you'll have to move on. I think nationwide, the average tenure of a manager, whether it be administrator or manager, is like 4.5 years. I served as...
I hate it when he says that.
I served in Salem, New Hampshire, on the police department there for 21 years and had 13 managers. And that's not an entry level. That's 4th largest community in New Hampshire. So it's just, and the other thing we're seeing right now, quite honestly, is the demographic. So, we all know that, we talk about the millennials. And that's a real challenge for hiring right now, because a lot of them are just kind of moving from opportunity to opportunity. And that's become a real challenge nationwide on recruitments and on longevity. So they can come to a place, and if they see another opportunity that affords them maybe more money sooner, then they tend to follow that more than our generation or his generation and my generation, where, it was more of a commitment. It's harder to find that now.
And just I'll expand on that just in one case. We know of a person who's up in the North Shore that we recruited. Young individual, a very small town, maybe a little bigger.
About 5,000 people.
About
Yeah.
5,000 people. A ringer. We think this individual is moving, but to be honest with you, we've asked, and he said, my lifestyle right now, just had a baby with his wife. He says, I love this community, I'm not going anywhere for a while. And he's a ringer.
And he's been there 3 years.
He could go somewhere.
And he came from a city.
It's a lifestyle issue that he decided was important to him and his family.
He was the chief administrative officer of a city near this town. And we saw, the potential in him. They hired him, and he's just a star for them. And he's in the amount of time he's been there, it's probably close to 3 years now, he has just brought them so far along that if he left tomorrow, they'd be very grateful that they had 3 years with him.
Yeah.
But this fits his lifestyle right now.
Right.
Like Bob said, raising a baby. And it's his wife commutes to Boston, and it's a relatively easy commute for her. So those are the types of things we're looking for when we talk about lifestyle.
Do you have any more, Colleen? You good for now?
Well, this is just kind of a follow-up again. It sort of sounds like you're implying the person would actually move to our community.
No, when I say move, I mean, could that happen? Yes. But when we say move his career to this community. So there is a commutable distance And, whether that's half an hour or so, what's really important is that the person become engaged in the community. I left a community as a police administrator of about 30,000 people. Moved over to the seacoast to a community of 5,500 people. Took a $30,000 cut in pay. And I live there now. I moved over within a year, lived there, changed my life. And I absolutely love it. So we may be able to find that type of person that just wants what you folks have. It's a beautiful community.
Thank you.
Susan?
I have two questions. One, and so I guess when we allocated money for the position, we sort of thought that because this town, the person is going to have to work without support staff to a large extent, that you might have to offer a little bit bigger salary to make it attractive. And I'm actually curious if you're saying maybe you're looking for someone as a first step job, if you think that still would be the case. And of course, you need to talk more and understand the community better. But it's this person's going to have to do an awful lot of the day-to-day work themselves, which I don't.
They do it, and I've been in that seat, so I understand that. And so you kind of need a generalist, a jack of all trades, and that's why we kind of get to that in our essays and our telephone interviews. So as far as the money goes, we do, like I said, a lot of these wage and classification studies, so we're actually able to draw on that data, and we can give you, we could give the board a whole bunch of data on similar towns. So the market has to be the same. So there's a geographic market, and then there's also a kind of a size, a community market. So we want to compare you to other similar-sized communities in the same kind of geographic market, because cost of living changes based on how close you are to Boston and whatnot. So, if you need to tailor kind of that salary expectation, we're able to help you with that. Generally, I would say that we should post the advertisement with a salary up to, and put the high end of the number there. So that means that if you have someone with little experience, you can offer them at the lower end. If you have somebody that person that wants to come here, they have the experience and they want the lifestyle, or they want something you have to offer, you can go towards the higher end. You're going to pay for that experience. But the higher that number is, the more attractive it will look to those people.
Yeah.
So we think you have to be very careful in how you post the position as far as salary goes.
Another question, and I think I misunderstood, but so did you say that the first step would be to get the ad put together and ready to go? But don't you have to have the salary decisions based on comparative data and a job description ready before you do that?
The job description we don't need before we post the ad. We know generally what a town administrator is going to do in a community this size, and that's not the place we would put the job description anyways. So, we would, and the salary, definitely. So there would be a conversation with the Board of Selectmen as we post the ad, what's the top end of that range? And we would say, salary to this number, starting pay commensurate with qualifications, or DOQ, depending on qualifications, right? So that gives you all that flexibility to move within that range. And then we're really able to jump into that job description. We'd be pretty quick on that, getting that to you folks working with you. We don't have to post the ad for a month or whatever. Most towns generally want to get it done. But we can collect all that. We can get all that stuff nailed down before we run the ad. Doesn't matter to us. The meter starts running when you place the ad as far as that 60 to 90 days. We can take as much time to get to that ad as the community feels comfortable. It just seems like so often for us, we have this meeting, they want a contract, they sign the contract like the next day, and then it's like, okay, now we come up with the ad really quick because they're in crisis or they're between people. You have a little more leisure here maybe, but we still want to be as efficient as we can with your time. So that's how that works, if that answers the question.
Yes, it does, thank you.
Any more questions?
And one more.
Yes, sir.
So summertime may be a time people's minds are on other things. Does that concern you?
A little bit. So I wouldn't want to post the ad probably till after the 4th of July. Because I think that with school just getting out, everybody takes off, right? And then they're gone pretty much through 4th of July. So, if we ran an ad late July that went through August, even if you went, if you could postponing it until like September when people are going back to work. But certainly, if you got it done end of July-ish, people that are in the market, they'll be looking at those venues that we would use, and our outreach wouldn't change depending on the season. But surely we want to capture people that are around the vicinity geographically that might pick up the Globe or might be sitting there searching. And generally, the period of now through July 4th is not a good time. So, if you engaged us, it'd probably be best served to use that time to really do some of that research that we've talked about and get to know you folks. Make sure that we have that salary nailed down. We may even have the job description done before we post that ad. So that's a good valid point. If we were doing a school superintendent, we'd be way late. If we did it now, you'd be looking for next year's school superintendent.
Right.
But it's not cyclical with town managers like that. It's completely revolving. We just have to worry about vacation time.
Anything more, John?
Nope,
I
I'm
didn't
good.
have any more
I think-
questions. Anybody out there? Any other questions? Okay. Very good.
All right.
Thank
Well,
you so
great.
much for
Okay.
coming in.
Thank you.
This has been great.
We really appreciate it.
Advice is always free, so
Yeah, appreciate your
don't
time.
hesitate to contact us if you want to ask some questions.
Terrific.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Should we go get some more strawberries before we go home?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Buy local.
We already bought some.
Yeah.
Thanks again, and good luck.
Thank you. All right, so do you want to jump right into the goals, or should we go somewhere else?
Should we
Since John's not
cover
here?
what people?
Well, John, you're here to talk about the Dennett, the water contract?
Good topic, I'm here to talk about many things. We can do the public safety building, we can do the Dennett.
Why don't we start with public safety building? You want to do that? Okay, let's go with that.
The day for signing of things.
Kristen, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How are you guys gonna how is the decision made about which firm will be hired? You're gonna put it
Let's put it on next week's agenda. We'll
We've
put it-
now met with two
Yeah.
groups.
and that was the two you're bringing in?
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we'll put it on next week's agenda with the intent of making a decision
Let's
And-
make a
and-
decision.
and moving forward.
There is a microphone there,
Get a
if
sit
if
there.
that's more comfy for you.
Probably is.
Yeah, that way you can
Um,
set your stuff out.
Okay, so for this part of the discussion, we'll talk about public safety building. We met last week. Of course, we did work with both P3, who's our consultant, with Context Architecture, which is the renamed Donovan Sweeney. They actually changed their name in the middle of our process, but we figured we didn't want to confuse everyone at town meeting. So same architect. But we're now at a new part of the process. So now that we've gotten approval to move ahead with the building and the funding, we need to extend our contracts with both P3 and Context. And then the other piece we want to talk to will be with respect to the new parcel of land. We need to do a little more surveying. First, I thought maybe we'd start with P3. What they have provided us is an estimate for for the rest of their work. What we're looking at tonight for approval is the construction documents work and the bidding work. We have some additional discussions to have regarding the construction administration at forthcoming meetings. So we just revised it to look for the amendment for $31,500, which again would get us through to the point that we are bidding out for a contractor for the station. So that's that. There's detail to everything that they're doing with respect to that on page 2. And then you can also see the other services that they would consider providing to us as well. So there will be at least one more amendment to the P3 agreement when we sort out what of the construction administration we would be looking for P3 to provide to us.
Do we have a Gantt chart that lays out what you think the project is going to be by a timeline? So if we're here today, what the pieces are until it's done, and where those monies fall roughly? One of the things I'm looking at is this 31.5 within the original estimate, or is this?
Yes.
Okay,
Everything, their full proposal here is within the original estimate that we
Okay.
provided at town meeting, that P3 put together. It falls within that.
so who will do the Gantt chart that lays it out so that?
P3 is responsible
Okay.
for doing that. I think notionally, Colleen, if I remember, we're about year to year and a half done and done, I think is what, because they would look to go out to bid, but probably not start until the spring.
Yeah, construction to start next spring.
And it's 9 months or so.
Yeah.
So have they got that done, that they, you can say, okay, this next spring blank, and then it does it by quarters or however?
We don't have a pretty chart for that, but no, we have had the discussions with them about that already.
Okay, so they're going to do that?
Yeah, I mean, they are our guide through this process. I mean, that's what we're paying them for, to help walk us through all of these processes and to look out for the town all the way along that.
And can they assign, when they do it, can they assign rough estimates of?
They
So-
have. I mean, that's how we came up with the 3 million. I mean,
Okay.
they've already estimated out using their cost estimators for the different phases and different parts of the process, working with the architect and their cost estimators. I mean, they've got a notional idea for electrical, for plumbing, for, concrete, I mean, that's how we got to the 3 million. This was a very purposeful process to get to that number. We didn't just kind of throw it together. I mean, that's why we have them. And now it's there, they need to deliver on that because we have 3 million and not a penny more.
I guess my headset is, you guys are the experts, and every time you come in and want us to sign off on whatever money piece, I'd just like to know that it is in the process of where you said it was, or if there's a hiccup, gets
Absolutely.
explained. But as far as, at least
So-
me, going through and understanding all this and whether it's right or wrong, or,
It's for your information.
yeah,
We have already reviewed, and for everything we're talking about here tonight, the committee has already reviewed and made the recommendation for the selectmen to move ahead. We won't bring you something that hasn't gone through that process. So, and since we had further discussion, that's why we edited this and asked just to do the first 2 items on here, since we have to have a little more discussion on that. And then we can talk, if we want to, we can just talk through all of them, and then we can go through that. So the piece from Context Architecture, this again is within the estimated fees that we had put forward at town meeting. This is to take us through to, plans for building and all the way through construction. What we're getting from P3, for instance, is that this estimate, what we're asking to sign here for this part of it is actually a $30,000 reduction that P3 negotiated, partly because we are, given the schematic design work that we already did to get to town meeting, we don't foresee having much additional schematic design. We're moving to design and build. So we were able to kind of truncate that a little bit and save a little bit of money, which, could easily be used other places. Okay.
Excellent.
And then the third piece of this, we of course have the 5-acre parcel that was purchased and finally closed. We need to do some additional survey work on that in order to make sure that we have delineating where the wetlands are, also looking at topographical elevations. And we don't, again, at this point, we don't anticipate using much of that land for where the police station is sited, but we need to make sure that the siting of that police station doesn't impede future use of that land. So rather than just looking at the little parcel here that's touching right to here, we think it makes much more sense to get the whole thing done, and then we can make sure when we're getting the final siting for the station that it is in an appropriate place and that we are being considerate of using that land potentially for a fire station or whatever other use it could be, but not hampering and having to redo anything.
makes great sense.
And that actually came in more reasonably than we thought. But we had recommended to move ahead with all 3 of these.
What do you need from us?
Signatures.
Okay.
I have been listening to the committee's meetings, and they are surely keeping really close contact with
Yeah,
all of this.
absolutely.
And, I mean, it's really been years, and it's pretty impressive how much the committee's working on, and keeping an eye on it and really working hard to keep the expenses down and still get the stuff done. I couldn't agree more with the third one, the surveying 5 acres. I think this is a key piece in a $3 million project, because we don't want to build ourselves into a corner that we
Right.
can't get out of. We just absolutely have to have that piece right. I'm glad to make motions on each of these, if you guys.
Sure.
So just one thing on the surveying. Colleen, since you had, do you want to speak to that?
We actually have about $44,000 left from the $125,000 article from last year, and it's our intention to use the monies from that, not from the $3 million.
Terrific.
Have you touched base with Barbara on that?
I have.
Okay, good, because we have a few other things coming up to face us, and
Yeah, we actually have monies left
Shifting
in
monies.
both articles that were devoted to the town purchase of the property. That had about $12,000 left, but we haven't gotten the legal added in, so we don't want to touch that. The $44,000, we've spent everything but about $1,000 that we owe to P3. So we have $43,000 left from that. So easily pay for this survey and,
And it fits, it really fits, because that money was dedicated for looking at the complex. This is the
Right.
land as part of it, and it's overall for the complex as a whole, and making sure we're doing the right siting.
and technically, we could do like just the front 1 acre, but that would cost the lion's share of the survey cost, and it just makes sense to do the whole thing now with.
That estimate was $200 to $2,500, so you can see there's not that much more to.
Right, to get a
And we
picture.
really need that information to be
Sure do.
comfortable that we're not putting a building in the wrong place.
Right.
And just for your information, I wasn't at the last meeting, so that's why John is handling everything. Plus, he's really good at this stuff.
He's good at this. He's got a lot of
Yeah.
practice.
He does.
So I make a motion that we approve the amendment to the P3 contract.
I'll second.
so.
All in favor?
What are we approving, the
We're going to go,
31.5?
we're going to vote them individually, yeah, the 31.5 to the P3.
Okay, so can we just amend that to 31.5?
Sure. Do you want
So amended.
to, so amended, okay.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye. I make a motion that we approve the amendment to the architectural contract.
And what's the amendment to the architectural?
Well, they bid us first for the first part of the project, and this is the rest of it. So
Okay.
they weren't going to, we approved paying them for the first part of the process. This is to get through actual drawings for what the building should do and how it should be designed, as well as through their process in the construction administration through the final building.
So is that the 129,000 plus the 4?
No,
it's
we're on
290.
context.
290,
Or
isn't
am I
it?
looking?
The architectural.
This next one. And it's really not an amendment, this is the
Yeah, forgive me.
contract. Right?
It's an extension
It's
of
an
their
extension of their
services.
services.
We've fully paid off the first
Okay.
portion.
They are paid for their prior work
So
already.
it's 290, right?
Correct.
So
For all the
I'll
rest
take-
of the work.
Let me take back that motion, and my motion is that we approve the completing the contract with the architectural firm.
I'll second,
For 209.
for $290,000. Would you like to amend that for
For
$290,000?
290,000.
All right, I'll second. All in favor? Aye.
And that one will require a signature.
Okay,
Doesn't look like there's one on P3. so-
okay.
And then the third one is, I make a motion that we approve the topographical analysis, the survey of the 5-acre purchase.
Do we need to list the funding source on this one?
Which
Susan's got a question back
The
there.
funding source will be, do you have the name of that?
It'll be what the
It was-
warrant article.
It was Article 36, no, 36 of the 2016 town meeting.
2016 town meeting? Not the latest one then?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, and that would cover the estimated range from 3,500 to 4,200.
All right.
So we need a
So
second.
not to exceed 4,200 then?
Yes.
Susan?
Did we,
Is this to get a survey or anything?
Yes.
It is to do, we had a survey of the property bounds. This is to do wetlands delineation, because there is a spot in the back that's wet, as well as to do topographical, because that we need to be able to make sure we're siting the building on a flatter part.
And just to throw my 2 cents in, based on what I've learned through watching where I work in Choir Lane, it's very valuable to set a couple of concrete bounds as part of that process. You might want to find out what the incremental cost of that is, so you have a clear
Yep.
line of what's town-owned land and what's not. So there's an additional fee for that, but it's well worth your consideration.
Okay. We'll bring that back.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Excellent, thank you. So do you need signatures on everything?
Just on, we need a copy for Barbara, so that I don't get in trouble with her.
Okay,
And then I need a copy to bring back to them. So
Okay.
if there's some, like, copy, I can give one to.
all right, do you want all of us to sign these, or
Looks like it's
just me?
for
Okay,
this one.
all right.
Do you have a second copy
Seconded the last one.
of Webby?
They have copies.
Okay.
Okay, so there's the Webby. And the context as well.
Yes.
Barbara needs an original.
That's why I figured they can sign
Okay.
one of these.
Okay, and there's nothing for us to sign on P3, correct?
There's nothing to sign. on
Okay.
P3.
Want to just
So, do you
sign
want
it anyway?
those? John, can we make copies of those right now?
Yep. And then if you want to sign one more original.
Sure. Yeah, I can sign,
Making
yeah,
copies of that, so.
yeah. So, you're still working on the easement, right? And that's kind of
Yes.
coming together?
still working on the easement.
Thanks, Colleen, very much.
They wanted to, I actually was going to tell you about that. They wanted to delineate where the easement is going to go, and I'm advocating that we don't try to do that now. We want to cite the police station. We want to know,
Yeah.
I mean, why set this in stone when they don't even have a contract yet for the,
Right.
so that's what I ended with last week, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So.
Okay, terrific.
We had a several-page easement document prepared, and I had a lot of notes that I sent back.
This your end?
Yeah, if you want to see do you want to see the interim stuff?
No, I have complete confidence in you, Colleen.
Okay.
I think the rest of us do too.
All right. Good, thank you.
Terrific. Well, thank you very much.
And because I wasn't there, when is our next meeting scheduled?
A week and a half, so 21st,
Okay.
something like that.
So-
Wednesday, we're around the 20th. I think it's 21st.
So John
Next?
probably-
Next.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, John's got
I
more.
should have brought hats tonight. That would have been more helpful. So, water treatment. We, given the complexity of this, and we talked a little bit about it last week, we have had some follow-up discussions with the consultant that we use to design the system, Green Seal Environmental, and looking to have them help us from bid through to the end. They're going to be involved anyways because they have to do the construction oversight per the prior contract, but we have a revised work order from them to help us prepare the bid documents, to walk us through the contractor selection, helping to pick the contractor, and then all of the other work going through from that. School committee discussed it tonight and has approved the recommendation to do a revised work order with them for an additional $14,500, which will get us hopefully a water treatment system at the Bennett, like done and done.
Terrific.
And so we've had some very good conversations with the president of the company. I believe they also do some other work for the town through with Mr. Mulcahy. But I think we had some miscommunication as we went along here, and I think we've resolved that, and they are eager to get started.
So what's the final price going to be?
I can't tell you that, because it hasn't bid yet. So
So they're just helping us to get, so we can bid it out?
bid it and get it constructed. The whole, they have to check in each point along the way. If the contractor orders parts, they have to approve the parts before they're installed. They have to check on the installation, and they have to get everything through DEP at the other end. I mean, that's the other piece of it. We need to have DEP comfortable and get that order against us released, the whole thing. And they will handle everything from getting a package for us to bid all the way through to the end. Similar to what P3 is doing, but with the engineering mixed in. You know, they're sort of playing both roles there.
So what are we approving today?
So I just, what I need, we need to approve the work order, which ends up being for an additional $14,500. They've listed out their scope of services in detail. We also have a detail, which they provided us with a breakdown of what the 14.5 is from their estimates. And it's a fixed price contract, provided that we don't have additional work that comes up in the process.
And this is money that was already allocated. Right, we've already appropriated this.
So it's within the budget that was originally,
It's part of the budget for between what we had appropriated 3 years ago, plus what we added to at town meeting.
what do we have, 25 plus the 130? Was that the,
We had 42,000 left from the original appropriation, and we
Okay.
had an additional 130. Our hope is that we will be returning money to the town, but in working with FinCom to come up with the number for town meeting, we wanted to make sure that we could get it done. Our estimates that we have had on this have been quite a bit higher than had been anticipated, and so it really is going to depend on what happens during bidding as far as the end cost, but certainly should be within those numbers.
so after the 14.5, how much was
Well, so we had, coming out of town meeting,
172?
172, so there would be 158,
Okay, so it's just the 14.5 we're approving now?
correct.
I thought this was in addition to a sum,
We've already paid out the 16.5.
but that's not out of the 172. That was done.
But that was the
Previously.
So we had
Yeah, okay.
190,000
Yep.
put aside for this,
Okay.
between the 60 and the 130,
Okay.
that we had already spent.
Okay.
16.
Seems like money well spent for the complexity of this project. Exactly.
We do not have the expertise in this space at all, and I really, we've had some very productive conversations with them. So I'm looking forward to it, and they have very clearly expressed the urgency, our understanding the urgency of that.
And do they feel like the number we have budgeted is a realistic number to get this project done?
Yes, they had provided us an estimate back in February for that. However, their estimate was about close to 90,000. That was not what we were getting on the street, so we were getting much higher than that.
Okay.
So our hope is that we have plenty of buffer to be able to absorb that if we need to, but also in the bid process, our hope is that we'll get a much wider group of people bidding, because we were just trying to get estimates from
Right.
people more around the area to get an idea of how big of a project this was. Because the design of the system ended up being a lot more complex than was originally thought, which is part of why the cost went way up. We're not just doing one thing, we're actually doing four.
Well, they might be able to help you get more qualified candidates too, or
Well, they're gonna help us sort through
contractors,
them, too.
right,
That's sort of the important part, to
Right.
and make sure that we do the bidding properly.
absolutely. Looks
So
good to
I
me.
make a motion, we approve the work order for professional engineering for $14,500.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
And then you can sign and keep one, and I'll take one signed copy myself.
Perfect.
Make copies for us, as well as return it
For
to.
Barbara?
Lucille.
Perfect,
Well, that's for.
Okay.
That's for Barbara.
perfect, thank you.
John, I have a question.
Yep.
The original that I just gave, is there another, I need another one of those originals. Barbara gets all originals.
Right, you should have one of the originals. There were 2 sets signed. I took 1 set.
Yeah.
I'm talking about for the public safety.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I signed 2 sets.
You signed 2 sets.
Shoot.
I have
He's got
an original, and you should have an original, and copies.
Where is our original?
Somewhere,
There's an original, I copied
somewhere on the table, because I have the one,
And that's what you gave me back.
No, that was the one.
I have the original.
Okay, they must have given John the one from before,
Yeah.
that's why.
Okay,
it was on the-
perfect.
You can't touch
Okay,
till next
here's
week.
another original. Okay,
This is hard, 'cause
Okay,
Barbara.
I know. And I
Perfect.
will get her, I'll get her a copy of the prior contract, because she said she didn't have that. I do not know where the original is for that, so it's what I have.
I have a P3 file.
No, it's not P3, I'm talking about the Dennett.
Oh, the Dennett, excuse me, all right, okay.
okay, next hat?
Thank
that
you
it?
very
I
much.
think that's it.
That's it? Okay,
What was about this rural school?
yeah, you wanted us to
Well,
discuss.
but looks like someone's not here.
Well, we
so-
really don't have a whole lot of information. We did a little bit of checking today, Bree and I did find something. There's a group out in Western Mass that I believe they're associated with the Massachusetts Coalition for Rural Schools that had a PDF, and they met in April. So this group is active, and I don't know if, one of us wants to reach out and just kind of find out what they're working on, what the status is.
We actually voted as a school committee last year to support the work of that group. It's an offshoot of the Mass Association of School Committees, but it's definitely a Western Massachusetts-based organization looking at the impact of Chapter 70 funding on rural schools. And it's something we're familiar with. It comes down to an economy of size. But all the research from the past 50 years, when you look at small schools and small districts, the students have much better outcomes. Their graduation rates are much higher. Even they talk about how important having a town school is to a local community. It's almost the center of all happiness and joy and civics and art for many small towns. That's where you go. So actually, it's moved quite a bit further since then. In the Senate budget that was just moved out of their chambers, they have commissioned a study to look into what's called, let me get this right, sparsity aid formula. And sparsity aid formula looks at the population of students per square mile and takes into account, again, almost trying to make up for the economy of scale or the lack thereof for some of these schools and coming up with the funding formula. Some of the things that are being passed around the State House right now would add $300 of state aid per pupil for rural schools. But again, this is when you take money from the state to devote to rural students, you're going to be taking it away from another group of students or potentially another area of the state budget. This is something I've had conversations with Colleen about and Susan about as I've tried to work to help change the formula for Chapter 70. We just took a resolution tonight at the Dennett School Committee. Silver Lake took it last Thursday to help move forward the Foundation Budget Review Commission's recommendations for looking at Chapter 70's formula, which has not been readdressed since 1993.
Right.
Some of the major issues with that is the cost of health care for the employees of public schools is misrepresented by the Chapter 70 formula by over 140%. It's also not taking into account the true cost of special ed services. In Chapter 70 funding, we currently get about $26,000 for out-of-district placement, and that's if they fully fund that $26,000. I'm your representative for the Pilgrim Area Collaborative, which is a semi-private, semi-public organization that's the cheapest out-of-district schooling that we can supply to our students. We're currently looking at our programs running from $48,000 to $52,000 a year per pupil. Now, if you get into the medically fragile children, that sometimes need more extensive health care on top of their educational needs and might even need a residential placement. These students can expect a tuition of $150,000 to $175,000 a year. So obviously, Chapter 70 needs to be addressed. This group needs your support if you're willing to give it. And the Foundation Budget Review Commission would also appreciate the support of any local organization, including select people. So I would appreciate it if you want to contact me. I could send along some of that information if you have any questions.
Didn't we, wasn't there a per capita income level that, so maybe we could meet the rural population, but our per capita income was too high? At least that was my recollection when this originally came up.
Well, there's so many different subgroups right now angling towards trying to get increased funding for their students because everybody is being inadequately funded right now. And you know, I feel like we're very lucky to be in the situation we're in. If you looked at some of our surrounding communities, they could argue that they're in tougher positions than we are ourselves. This rural group, though, the definitions are kind of nebulous at this point. I see what you're saying. Is it income per capita, or is it how many students we service within our district? One of the definitions that's being used is a population of students that's 2,500 or under. Even if you take into account Silver Lake, we would count as a rural school system.
So the gates really haven't been established yet of what they're going to be looking at.
And I believe that's why the Senate has commissioned the study to take place during the next fiscal year. And then we'd have to move forward from there.
Is there any downside? I mean, if we were to say, you know, we support it, is there a downside to it?
The downside is something that the legislature has been doing to the Mass Association of School Committees for a few years now. We're fine if you want to ask us for this, but show us where the revenue is going to come from. So that's the catch-22. They might come back and say, okay, so where do you want us to get the money?
But that says looking at it as a whole, not town by town.
It's not town by town, no.
Okay.
But that has been their refrain. We agree, we know there's a problem, we know it's broken.
Sure.
Where's the funding?
Are they planning on taking the funding from the school, the existing school budget, or would they look for a source outside of that?
Well, as Colleen has mentioned, and I found her to be absolutely accurate on this, unless we can hold some schools harmless, none of this is going to change. Nobody wants to give up what they have to help out another community. This is where you're seeing the ballot initiative being talked about already for the next statewide election, where they're looking to raise and appropriate from a tax base of $1 million income or more per year.
So this is the millionaire's tax that,
They want to get away from using the millionaire's tax as a misnomer, because millionaire is anybody who has net assets of $1 million or more.
got to be million.
This is someone who's making an income of $1 million a year or more. But if we thought the question about charter schools was contentious, we haven't seen anything yet.
Sure.
Okay.
I don't have any good answers for you, John.
No.
Well, there was thought, too, that all the money that was going to the charter schools be appropriate to put some of it towards this.
Right now, Silver Lake, which we are a member district of, is losing $591,000 a year to students going to charter schools, and that is not going to reverse course. We are not getting any of that money back. And that's how much we're supposed to get back according to the formula. That
And there's additional offsets to that, too.
Absolutely.
And there's additional funding that's coming from the state that offsets the tuition we're paying. So even if we didn't increase the number of students that we had attending charter schools, that number will go up because that additional funding will disappear at some point.
Right.
So it's I mean, it is what it is, but that's why it becomes difficult.
Well said.
Do you have any questions, Mark?
No.
All right, so what's the best course of action? Just to kind of wait and see what happens?
I would say we wait and see how the study turns out during the next fiscal year. But if this board is interested in looking in ways to further support our local education, I would recommend you look into the Budget Review Commission and see what some of their recommendations are and see if you'd be willing to stand behind their recommendations.
Okay.
And again, the Foundation Budget Review Commission was established in fiscal year 15 by the state legislature. This is not special interest group people coming out just begging for funds. This included members of the governor's staff, several mayors from throughout the Commonwealth, legislators, also members from Mass Association of School Committees, business people. This was our best and brightest who came up with these recommendations.
Where do our legislators stand on this? Brady and Coulter, do we know?
I know Coulter is a very firm supporter of the Foundation Review Commission's findings. I've spoken to them very many times. Senator Brady and I haven't discussed this yet, but he does know our position on this, and I would be very surprised if he didn't feel very similar to Rep. Coulter.
And the MMA strongly supports this position as well.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, they've been writing about that in their newsletter, at least they started last year. All right, so do we want to leave it that if there's a development, you'll let us know, and we'll just,
Yeah, we were thrilled to see that you had it on your agenda, and that's why we wanted to be here, in case we could add any additional information.
you added all the information, so thank you.
But we would be thrilled to come back and share any new
Okay.
information with you.
We had talked with Maureen and you, I think it was last year, about possibly doing a roundtable. Is that something that you guys want to possibly do going forward? Getting together? It was kind of open-ended. We weren't really sure what you wanted, but.
Well, I've stated several times in the past, since I represent us both locally and at the district level, that I would be more than happy to be your go-to person for any questions that any member of the Selectmen have for me, and I would be more than happy to come before you. I think that Maureen and I would still be very open to the idea of having a round table here. John and I, on the Dennett side, have brought the Dennett School Committee meeting here to this building twice in the last year to try and do some further outreach with the town people, instead of just doing it at our school, to try and have a more public face to it. And I'd love to do the same thing for Silver Lake as well.
Okay, well, maybe we should have a topic. So if a topic comes up that you think would be worthy of a roundtable, we can work together and schedule something.
Great.
Okay.
I know one thing that might be coming up in the fall, and this is something we discussed at our meeting tonight, is transportation issues. We had a review commissioned, and we got the results back. And John and I have said that one of the great benefits of being on the Dennett School Committee is what a wonderful school we have, which great teachers we have, and the programs we have there. The number one complaint I've gotten from parents in my 4 years now of being on the committee has been about busing. So I think that's a blessing that that's the number one complaint, and it's usually the length of the bus ride. So a topic we're going to be discussing is, do we want to continue to have children picked up in front of every single household, or do we want to try and shorten the length of the time that the children are on the bus? And then it'll ultimately be a decision that will be a school committee decision, but we are going to have some public hearings. We're going to be putting a survey out in the fall, and this might be something that we might want to address at a Board of Selectmen meeting
That
as
sounds
well.
like a great
just to
idea.
get a wider forum, if that's all right.
Perfect. Do you want to just let us know when,
Yeah.
a good date for you?
And I think certainly when we get through the summer and into the new school year, there'll probably be a few things that come up that we can all get together and talk through.
Perfect, that sounds fantastic.
Okay,
Terrific.
Before you leave, the more I think about it, I feel a little uncomfortable when we sign documents for $290,000 where you haven't signed. I'd like to see in the future the documents that come forth that you've approved them too.
That's fine.
Just my auditor's background.
Just let us
that
know
says-
what procedures you'd like us to follow. We're happy to do that.
What do you want, like a cover sheet?
No, well, it can be a cover sheet or
I
just,
mean, I can't legally sign for the town, so that's why my name's not on there, but I have no problem signing these documents
yeah, I
in the
think
future. So if,
I think you're signing for the committee that says you guys agreed.
well, I mean, we took the vote, and
They
we
voted.
noticed in the minutes, I mean, we vote for every one of these,
Sure.
whether it be the school committee or the public safety, but perhaps the Board of Selectmen would like to come up with a sort of a standard procedure, because as we found out last week, we perhaps are deviating a little bit where we shouldn't be, and then it would be easy to follow. I'm happy to
Let me talk to
do it.
Barbara and see,
Okay.
yeah. So
Whether
it would
it's
be
a-
my security blanket.
Well, and I think there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, which is why I would have been happy to have signed any of those documents I
Sure.
provided to you tonight based on the committee's decisions.
Okay.
But they're not signing the actual document, though. I mean,
No,
certainly their
no, they
vote,
wouldn't be signing the document, but
they're-
maybe just something that they are recommended, that the board has voted to recommend,
Yeah.
that,
So
know,
maybe
this
we can put something
document-
together. I know it'd be great if we had a town administrator to just whip that up, but I'm sure we can figure something out that we can apply sort of across
Yeah.
board.
Right,
because
something
Barbara
generic.
can give us something.
Yeah.
We'll
that
be-
Do you
meets-
want to send an email out, whatever was at your meeting? Whatever you did at your meeting, if you wanted to send me an email?
No, I want to,
Like we
No,
approved?
I would think we should have a form.
Yeah, you just want a form.
Just a
that says
form.
The committee reviewed this.
on this
and
date, we
recommended-
But we
voted
should-
to
But we
recommend,
should,
right.
we should do it across
Yes.
yeah,
Right, and
across
it
the
would
building.
make it easier.
And that way, we all know what we have to fill out.
exactly.
I'd be happy to do that. And I know I'm coming in here giving you 5 minutes to sign on the dotted line. And I get it.
Okay, so let me talk to Barbara
This should
and
come
then
from you.
she, huh?
This should come from you.
Right,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's
Perfect.
totally reasonable.
okay.
I was just
Thank
thinking then I could give it to them for every,
Yeah, I'm sure we can come up with some form.
Yeah.
It's easy.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you
that-
so much for coming in.
You know, because the other thing is to send you all this ahead of time, but then it's even more paper you have to read through, and that's not helpful for your time.
No, and generally, we like your version.
Good.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You can have your meeting back.
Yeah, why don't you hold for that?
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so we ready to start at the top?
Let's go to the top.
All right. So, discussion of board's goals for coming year, town administrator. So we met tonight with municipal resources. What about putting this on next week's agenda and making a decision on a group, a consultant to help us with the process?
Do you feel you have enough information? I mean, should we be looking for a third party?
I'm glad to make a couple calls to the people we saw tonight on the references that they gave us. There are a couple local towns, there's Kingston, and there's another one
Yeah, there are a couple
nearby.
local.
So I'm glad to do that as a piece there.
Did we do that with the other group?
I don't know if we did.
Do you want to do that for the other group too?
I'll see
Because they
what I
had some references as well.
I'll make a couple calls.
Because it would be
I-
smart just to have the same person.
Yeah, I'm a
It
little,
feels to me we have two kind of different styles here.
Two
and,
very different styles.
They're probably competent organizations, and we're going to have to make a decision on what style works for us.
yeah, I'm a little torn right now,
Yeah,
quite
I am
frankly.
too. I really am.
All right, so you'll do that, but is time going to make your decision easier?
Time,
If, just delaying it another week, is that going to make it easier? I mean, I think it's going to be a tough decision regardless.
no, I want to think it over, but what I'm asking is, do we need another third consultant group to come in and talk to us? Or do you feel comfortable that we've got two good firms and we just got to make a choice?
I think
I'm
we've got two
comfortable with
good.
the latter. I mean,
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
it's
I am
going to be
too.
a really hard decision, actually.
Yeah, I think we've got two very competent groups to choose from.
Okay,
We seem to have one of our members coming closer. I wonder if we want to see.
Hi, Deb, did you want to talk to us?
Yes, I did, actually, but I can wait my turn.
no.
We can
no.
take you now.
I have a person who has volunteered to be appointed to the planning board,
Wow.
Terrific.
and I'd like to present the nomination of Robert Carling, who is knowledgeable and is more than willing to go across the hall and help us out. He wants to be a member.
Okay,
Now, who are the other members right now, Deb?
Right now, we have Paul D'Angelo,
Yep.
and William McClellan,
Yep,
and John Rantuccio.
right, and yourself, and it's a board of 5,
It is a board of 5.
and no alternates, right? You don't use alternates, I mean, it's not
There
like
is-
zoning board.
There is no provision for an alternate.
Okay, okay,
It would be nice if there were.
yeah.
And that might be something to
Town meeting
put up
coming
for next
sometime.
town
Yeah.
meeting. But Mr. Rantuccio has had back surgery and has been unavailable for the past couple of months and
Right.
is not,
So Bob would be filling an unfilled term?
there was a failure to elect at the annual election, and I think that's in your correspondence. There is, I just signed a,
Is there any concern with his role as zoning enforcement officer and planning board?
That was only my
too.
concern.
I
I just
could
would
imagine, I
maybe,
can't quite think what it would be, but I could
I
imagine
can't think either.
something. No?
I can't think either. He's very knowledgeable and.
oh, absolutely, nobody doubts his
Yeah,
knowledge.
And
It's just,
we'd be
yeah.
very lucky to have him.
I
And he
think
will continue to be the
Yeah.
zoning enforcement officer,
Of
correct?
course.
Okay.
if something came up, I would assume he'd
Recuse
recluse
himself.
himself.
Well, I don't know as if he can recuse himself, because you've got to have a quorum.
Well,
And,
you'd still only need 3.
Sometimes you need a super quorum to vote on something.
Yeah.
However, I can't imagine what it would be that he would have to
Okay.
recuse himself for because he's, I don't know. I can't think of that. I mean, I could
I'd
I
just
could
like
have
to
something
have-
come.
Checking.
I don't know, I'd
a
like
quick
to check with
town
council. I'd like to check with town
I-
council, just to get, make sure there's not an issue with it.
Something could come before the board that would affect me, and I'd have to recuse myself.
Right,
It could happen to any of us.
right.
And I just
yeah.
really don't see that it's
This
It's
will
an
only
issue.
take an email.
Yeah, it would
back
be
and
quick.
forth.
It's just, it's his position as zoning enforcement officer, if that is some type of conflict, to be on the planning board. I think that's all we need a clarification of,
right.
that it's not.
on a whole lot of other committees.
Right.
That's true.
So I'd like to make a motion that, subject to legal counsel saying that it's kosher, that
If there's no issues?
Yeah,
Okay,
that we approve it.
okay. All right.
And then Bree will make out the,
Appointment slip.
Can you just send
Appointments.
me a quick email for the recommendation? I put them with the appointment slips,
Mhm.
and then you don't have to come back, and then I can,
You comfortable getting an
Yeah,
opinion?
so I second that motion.
All right.
and-
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right,
So who's going to check with town council?
I can reach out to,
Greg Corbo, I guess.
yeah, Greg Corbo,
Yeah.
and just confirm that
Tell them
there's,
it's a quickie.
yeah, it is a
Yeah.
quickie. It
So
actually
yes
should
or
be a
no?
freebie. Okay, all right, so I'll send Greg an email just to confirm, and then we're meeting again next week, so we can sign it next week, or if there's no problem, we could come in and sign it this week.
I can leave it, and then each of you can sign it. and-
Okay.
And is this until when? Can I get that date from Tara? Because this is where we lead into.
Yeah.
Let me
Okay.
get that really quick.
So that's a 5-year term.
That's
then,
a 5-year
Phil, to
term.
elect.
Mhm.
So is there some time pressure? You guys meet next Monday night?
It would be nice if we could meet next Monday night.
Okay.
So hopefully we can do
We need-
whatever
Yeah.
we need.
Yeah, yeah, providing there's no issue with it, we can get it signed this week for you. And then he can be sworn in, and you can meet with a full board next
Yeah.
week. Perfect. Excellent.
Wonderful.
Yes.
It's going to be fun having a full committee, huh?
Oh, it'll be great to
It's
have a
not
full
full.
committee.
Why? Isn't John Ratuccio, is he still out?
Yes,
Oh, he is.
for the foreseeable future.
So this will just get them a quorum, which is critical.
And he's, right now, I spoke with him, and right now, after his spinal surgery, he's just beginning to try to climb a stair. One stair.
Man, that's
And
tough.
it's been a couple months.
Okay, so we made a
So he
motion,
wouldn't
we
be able
voted
to
to
go
appoint
down?
him? Yeah, so I'll let you know.
Down into the cellar anyway,
No,
or come back up from it.
Yeah.
yeah, you'd have to meet on this floor.
You guys can always use this room in the next one.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You can always use this, yeah. Okay.
So, yes,
thanks.
So I'll let you know as soon
Appreciate
as,
that. Thank you.
that we hear back from council, and then I'll let you guys know so you can all,
Sure.
we can all come in and sign it.
Very good.
Perfect. All right, and she'll get
Thank
the
you.
dates.
Thank
Thank you. Okay.
Oh, hi.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Am I supposed to, I'm here on purpose for
Oh.
the planning board stuff.
Okay.
So the fulfilling the unfulfilled position only goes to the next election.
Okay.
Oh.
And then it's, it rotates by year. So we have 2000, we have Deb till 2021, Paul till 2020. That's Paul D'Angelo. Bill McClellan, 2018. John Rantuccio is 2019. So it would go until June 30th of 2018, and then it would go to the next
Okay,
alternating person. So it would be a 4-year term.
Well,
okay.
we'll actually have two, right? One of them expires 2018?
Yes, not till May, though.
Oh, I see, okay.
So
Okay.
we'll have this one to fulfill which is what Deb signed on how to
Yep.
fill the vacancy. This goes to you.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that one will cover the one that it was a failure to elect.
Okay.
At this last election.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that, Tara.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, thank you.
Joy.
So you'll do the, yeah, she'll do the
Sure, I
slip.
need my note.
Okay, so moving on. Anything else for the town administrator?
I don't think so.
You guys have a meeting on Wednesday
We do.
We do.
with Dale
Yes.
to start to work on the plan for,
Yeah, so what does he do that we have to start thinking about how to transition?
okay. Perfect, and that's posted.
Which hopefully will be an impetus to get moving on town administrator.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next item, financial management. I'll start. We have a call with Monica from the Collins Group tomorrow to talk about kind of where we are with the Collins grant, the financial policies, the CIP plan. So John is going to try to make the call too. I'm not sure if Barbara will be able to. Hopefully Nate can as well. And then we'll have a better idea of what we need to do, what we still have left to do on the Collins. Anything else on financial
I
management?
don't think so.
Can I just flip back to town administrator?
Sure.
I
Sure.
wasn't on the board when the Collins Group presented, so I probably don't have a list of references. You think you
I
can?
have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it
If
to
you
you.
can get that to me, that'd be good. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
No worries. Okay, technology.
So kind of a list of where we are in things. The Exchange server and upgrades the database. I sent Michael Rodriguez a note, you may have seen this. He's
Yes.
ordered the system components. We're going to have to run both systems for maybe a month parallel, just to make sure that there's no hiccups. So that's in progress. The printer and screen, in our original grant, we had put in for a high-volume printer and a screen that would go up on the wall, so that whatever we showed in this room would also be picked up by cable. I'm meeting with Steve Pello tomorrow. He's the Silver Lake Regional District Technology Manager. We're going to meet at the Dennett School. He had some ideas that he wanted to show me what they're using there. So we had put in $9,000 for the screen, because if the state paid for it, we'd get the best there was. He's saying there may be an alternative for around $2,500.
Nice.
So we'll take a look at that tomorrow. Also on printers, pretty much everything we got back said that we don't really need high-volume printer in color. So we'll probably look at maybe getting 1 or 2 printers that, like desktops, because they'll do normal printing in legal size, and we really don't need to go over that. And for the few times we do, we can always go to a vendor like we print today. We had put in $8,000, I think, for the printer, and we can probably buy 2 of these for $500 a piece. And again, Steve's going to show us this, so we'll see what comes out of that.
All right.
The grant, I asked Barbara to go back to the Department of Revenue
Right.
on the digital orthophotography,
Right,
and I haven't got an answer yet.
okay.
She's taking a look at that. And sort of low-key technology, I really want to get a whiteboard on wheels in here that we can use, and we can use it between the 2 conference rooms, or, in any of the offices. The idea that we don't have a whiteboard just drives me crazy.
Does Silver Lake have any surplus?
I can ask Steve tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, they may have something they,
Yeah, he mentioned, a whiteboard, but he didn't offer one.
well, ask him.
Okay,
Perfect.
I think that's
All right, so
technology.
we're waiting,
Contribute to the technology stuff too?
Sure.
Because I spoke with General Code today, who are the people doing the bylaw codification.
mhm.
And I will be seeing the representative on Thursday at the town clerk's conference. And I have to have Dale just witness at the beginning of the contract I sent the certificate of vote for the appropriation. And she's gonna start talking on her end to her people, because it was a special town meeting vote, so it doesn't have to wait till July.
Terrific.
So I'll be touching base with her on Thursday, and I'm gonna give her some information then when I see her.
So Tara, will our bylaws look different going forward? They're going to be organized different?
Great. They're going to be organized, and I think I've given everybody the proposal, but I'll give Mark one, because I don't think he's gotten it. Yeah, they organize and restructure, and because the bylaw review committee and I started with the process, we don't want to overlap and do, we have to figure out what they're going to do for us. So I do have a very specific proposal from them, and I'm happy to be sort of the liaison to the bylaw committee groups. They're ready to fix inconsistencies with like punctuation and periods and the outline, and so we're gonna have to really coordinate efforts so that we don't duplicate efforts. But they're also gonna put it on a platform that is web-based, so that it's searchable document. And so, for example, any revisions that were done, say, when the fence viewer was established in the 60s and then taken away in the 80s and then put back on, they'll be able to type in fence viewer and then see what revisions have been done.
So this is all going to be done in the cloud? Is that?
It's a web-based platform.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's the cloud. It's actually a program that they maintain.
But the server is wherever they are?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So I have very specific proposal information. And they actually granted a quote that I got from a prior salesman in 2015.
Nice.
And in fact, I think it might be a smidge less in case we need a little bit of wiggle room at the end of the process. So she just gave me a new quote today. So
Good.
I just at least touched base with them. I said I can't help them yet, but they're gonna start being able to talk to their people on the other end. I just need Dale's signature.
Terrific.
So
Are
that's
we-
sort of a technology.
Super. Are we going to get the MGLs that we've accepted? Will those be added in now too, or
Yeah,
that be?
So I did, I've completed over 30 certificates of vote, including MGLs. Those now, so.
So help me, what, Massachusetts general law, so what does that
Yeah,
mean?
so any Massachusetts general law that we adopted at town meeting,
Oh, okay, okay.
I have now done the certificates of vote for those, and I will give them to the people that it corresponds to or that it affects. And then all the MGLs go to the State Public Records Division. It's part of my reporting process. So the MGLs and other state accepted mandates that we have had a town meeting vote on, go to public records. So some of the other stuff goes to the, as part of my reporting process, goes to the Department of Revenue, and some goes to the Attorney General. So I finished the certificates of vote today. I'm finishing the certified appropriations, and just have to have Barbara review them tomorrow, but they do match what she has for her spreadsheet and what we have from what was presented at town meeting, and all of that goes to the DOR as well.
Great.
A copy, a certified copy. So, I have another technology thing. So website, I called virtual town halls today, and just to make sure that I have the same user capabilities and privileges on the website as Dale. I need to tell them when to remove him as a site admin person. I said July 1st, but it's up to you guys, and then we'll just have to send them an email, but I'm also the equivalent to him as far as privileges on the website. So they gave me a list of everybody who has a username. I have the list if you want to see it. It's outdated, but I'll give you each a copy. Some of the usernames I can tell are from the very beginning when everything was migrated over from the old site. And so you won't even recognize them because they were virtual town halls people.
Okay.
But that's the list, and it's basically first initial, last name.
Thank
for
you.
username. And the people that have,
So when you say privilege, what
Yeah,
can these
so-
people do?
so the people who say under the roles column, if it says group member,
Yes,
they're allowed to edit their page, but there's only certain things they can do.
okay.
Like, for example, it might say group member, but they're only allowed to add agendas or minutes. Site admins can edit anything on the page, including the structure.
And there's only two, you and Dale?
No, Barry DeCristofano was on there from when he was here.
Guess we better get rid of him.
Well, he
huh?
was, yeah, so him, and then we had added Harry Weichel when we thought he was gonna do the senior work
Right,
off, but
right.
he's not going to, so we'll
Okay.
take him off. But I actually have the privileges to remove anybody.
Okay.
I talked to them today and said, so can I just send you the list? And they said, you can do it.
Perfect.
So if you are going to establish other maintenance people,
So we need a maintenance person for every board and commission.
Makes sense.
So we'll have to, if you want, I'll go down and see if I can figure out,
Yep.
what's missing,
yep,
unless you already know that.
oh, I can figure it out.
Yeah, but
Well, as part of, so it's sort of technology, but not really, but as part of my appointments and elected members of people who have come to get sworn in and done all of their paperwork,
Yep.
I think that's on your agenda. You guys were gonna talk about that, appointments. Did you already?
No, we haven't
No.
yet.
Oh, okay, well, okay, we'll get to that. Anyways, as part of my annual renewals and annual appointments, I take all of the cards and go into the website, and what I started to do last year was included, I think I've shown this to you before, it has the terms and if they're elected or appointed. So we should have a extensive list for
Okay.
people to be able to click on it, and it's part of the process that I do when I'm renewing everybody. So right now, all of the newly elected people, except for the constable, my constable, has been sworn in.
Okay.
They've all done their paperwork. So I've told them that when I send the annual renewals and to the whole distribution list, that people have to renew their whichever piece they're missing, that they're all set, the newly elected people, and the most recent appointed people, too. We've had some stragglers to the end of this year. So it's part of what I've been doing with the appointments. and updating the website for who belongs on what.
Okay.
So you need us to come up with something for
If you want, we
who's
could,
maintaining the pages?
if you want, we could start with first letter of the first name and last name for all the chair people. Just start with that, and then if they want to delegate somebody on their board or committee, they'll have to get to me.
That makes the most sense.
I'd like to be on as a site administrator.
Sure.
Okay, I don't know, Mark, do you want to?
Oh, please, please, please take it.
Okay,
Yeah, no, thank you.
okay. So I'll come sit with you and you can educate me.
Yeah, I'll send, I've sent them before, I've sent all of the manuals, and I have two different ones, one sort of a basic level, and one is more in-depth with structure of the website, and I have been able to add menus and other boards and committees with that more in-depth manual.
Okay.
And they do have
Great.
tutorials, I mean, they have tutorials just about every month, you just sign up for them, and you say what you're interested in seeing.
So it seems like that piece on July 1st with the reorganization of all these committees, each committee is going to feel responsible to update their website, but I'm sure in a lot of committees, and certainly others that I serve on, I do not know how to do that.
Yeah, so I have mirrored my laptop onto the screen in the my back office when I did a training thing for something back there. I can't even remember what it was. But I would be happy to take the manual and go through some of the basics of the tabs on everybody's boards and committee pages and invite all the people who are becoming admins to their site.
We need a training
Yeah,
session.
Yes.
and I think we just have to organize that. I mean, I
The only-
admit,
and I'll
I
just tell
have
you,
no idea how to do
I have
it.
done, either did I, and I have exactly the same information, and it's just a matter of using it.
It is that, but it is also a matter, I think, of making it unbelievably simple. I mean,
Right.
these are all volunteers, they're all up
Right.
against
Right.
it already, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of us face, 2 hours of training is just daunting.
Right. Yeah, so they do
Yeah.
have a couple of basic things.
Great.
And I've actually taken notes for Tricia, and I don't even think I've gotten that far with you, but Tricia has her own simplified notes from when I was showing her how to upload an agenda and minutes and stuff like that.
Never done it as I wanted it.
Yeah.
I added somebody to that.
All right, so why don't we set up something after the 1st of July?
Yeah, so what I'd like to do is have the whole website perfect with who is on the boards and committees, taking people off, putting them on, so that we're starting from a certain place, and having everybody, if they want to modify the description on their homepage of their site, then, or their page, then I'll go through it with them, or they can send it to me. I'll just show them how to do it.
Okay,
Yeah, it's time consuming with this many people, but if we can do it, I'll do it a couple of times, a couple of, options for meetings. Some people might want to do it during the day.
yeah, why don't we have like a
And
day
we
and
can
an
do an
evening so that we can get
Makes sense.
get everybody trained?
Yep, and I'll just have a packet of manuals, and then they can just do their own simplified notes. But it's part of this appointment and election process with the appointment cards. There's no use in going in and changing. It was pretty up to date up until a few months ago for who was on the boards and committees. If it was a newer board and committee, it was just because I didn't get to it. So that's,
Well, actually, I might want to do it too for the housing production plan. It might be valuable to have site privileges
Mhm.
for that too. Okay, all right, well, we can
Yeah.
talk about that. Okay.
When you wanted to do the appointment slips, I figured that this is all her on here.
Sure.
so,
sure.
Do you want to have everything done by the 26th, correct?
Well, we
And
have to have enough
6/19?
time for them to be able to sign it and people to get in.
So we have 6/19 with a final date of 6/26.
Yeah, I mean, final,
Let's shoot for the 19th,
Yeah,
and
yeah, I
then
wanna
the stragglers will get the
I would like to shoot for the
26th.
19th. What I did last year, and I haven't looked at it since last year. I've been updating the spreadsheet as I go, but I haven't printed the reports. But it shouldn't be as difficult as it was 2 years ago. Last year, it was pretty self-explanatory, the reports that I gave of who. So I'd like to have them done by your meeting Monday.
Okay.
To have a first look at who is up for appointment.
So our
So,
meeting when? Next Monday?
Next Monday is the
Monday is 19th.
6/19.
yeah, it's
Okay.
already the
Vote.
19th.
Okay.
I know.
So,
Um,
okay, so what do you need us to do?
Nothing, you have to be patient until I give
The
you the
19th.
list on the
Yeah,
19th.
we'll sign on the 19th.
Everybody has to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So on the 19th, we'll have a list of the open positions and the people
Yes.
that have been nominated or volunteered or appointed or
Yeah, I
to
mean,
be
we can send a
appointed.
blast to the distribution list tomorrow and say, we're going to be presenting the list on Monday. If there's anything that we should know about, for example, people that you do not want to reappoint, or you know that they're gonna come off, please let
Or
us
that you know want to
Yep.
take on another term.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Bridget and I can send that tomorrow to the distribution list and just say, we're gonna have a preliminary report for the 19th, and I'll try to include that with our email and say, this is who we have for your board, and these are when they expire.
Okay. I mean, the problem that'll come up is some of them won't meet in the interim.
I know,
if they-
I know, but this will be just touch and base. We'll just make it simple, just let us know so that
Perfect.
we can pend it until the next week.
Yep.
And, the worst-case scenario is if they have a meeting after July 1st, and they're not sworn in, then they just don't vote. So we're gonna try to avoid that, but we're hoping those are just stragglers,
Okay.
so.
All right, so you're just going to give us a sheet like you've done in the past. We'll
Yeah.
make the appointments, and then Bree will type everything up.
I actually merged them into Word. I took the database and just merged them.
Okay.
So if you say, you do, like, she can do check marks, ones that everybody's approved, and they just get merged.
Okay.
She
You
doesn't
don't
have
need the
to.
signature on the appointment slip.
Yeah, we'll merge them. We'll merge them,
okay.
and you'll get their signatures.
So the list that you're going to give us is going to be a confirmed list, so you should be able to print them out then.
Yeah, so last year, I don't know if you remember, but we merged them all, had them ready, and then we had them in groups. And if
Yes.
somebody got pulled out, then we pulled it out.
Okay.
And we replaced it with whoever the next person
Perfect.
was.
Let's, yeah, do
That
that.
way, it just sort of streamlines that signing process.
Okay.
So, at some point, and this is, so the database person, I have been appropriated the money for the databases, and the person who is installing them for me, she's ready to go. And I'm gonna do it my way, update it, do it my way, and then, I am gonna send it to her eventually, so I'll be working with both probably simultaneously, but I don't wanna hold up the process with tweaking the new database. But merging my records into her records is gonna help after the fact, when I have to go through all of the paperwork that every board and committee member has to do, and it'll do a report with if it's beyond the 2 years for conflict of interest quiz, annual sexual harassment policy, open meeting law, summary. So I'm gonna be doing both of them, but I'll do it in mine and get everything to you and merge the records the way we did last
Okay.
year.
Perfect.
So that's happening.
Okay.
Okay,
That
great.
sounds good.
Okay,
Excellent.
I think
Well,
that's
thank
all
you,
my
Tara.
stuff.
Thank you for all your hard work on that.
Bylaw review, website, vacancies. There's one other vacancy that I have to the chairperson of the Board of Library Trustees. There was a failure to elect. There was 2 positions, only one was filled, so you're going to get the same letter that the planning board did.
Okay.
That's it. Certificates of vote, they're all done, I just have to get them to everybody now. Okay.
Thank you, Tara.
Thanks, Tara. Hey, can I go back to financial for a minute?
Sure.
One other thing, auditor's report.
Oh, yeah.
I talked to Barbara today, and what we thought made sense was for Barbara to come in and take the 2016 audit management report and just update us on what's been corrected, et cetera. The 2017, she would rather wait till the fall when the auditors are in and done the work, and then we'll have the auditors in
Okay.
to talk, okay? That, we used to have the auditors a long time ago come
Right.
in, then it was done away with. But I think, given the financial monies and things that we're doing now, like the public safety and everything, it behooves us to have them come in.
Great.
So, Barbara, in the next, I'll set up a date in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and then the auditors in the fall.
Okay. To report on 2017.
Yes, 2016 for Barbara,
Okay.
2017.
When
for
when does Barbara want to do it?
I've got to get it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so on to grants. Anything?
Let me talk to Barbara first.
Any updates on grants? Do you have anything, John?
No, I don't think so. Kind of waiting for Colleen.
Yeah, I think she's still working on it.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we've done website updating. We've talked about appointments and renewals for boards and committees, expiring contracts. Those are also something that we'll have to address. Let's put that on the agenda for next week with the,
Do you want that? Okay.
I don't think we have, yeah, do you have it?
I have the contact, and this is what I went over with Barbara. I don't know if you,
I had the list too. Let me just find it here.
do you want us to get mine?
No, I've got mine here. Thanks, though. Okay. All right, so expiring contracts. All right, so there's appointments.
I can probably find
There's
that if
appointments.
I've got it here if you
All right,
want. Is this,
yeah, there it is. Okay, so who's expiring? Quite a few. Lynch, Malloy, and Marini, those are auditors, but the,
the auditors was renewed for
We
3
renewed
years.
that maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I believe.
okay, so
Yeah.
that one's all set.
Yeah.
Collins, we're going to be done with that. DNS hosting of the website.
DNS, I'll have to find out.
Okay.
That's Danny, I think.
Okay. Tara probably knows. Maya, Cook Insurance, looks like Marie's Way Solar, that, am I reading this? Yeah,
Mine has come in, so we're gonna be all set with that.
Okay.
That'll be ready. Cook is good.
okay, look like the
Michael
local,
Rodriguez?
Yeah.
Local computer store, Michael Rodriguez?
I have not seen that.
okay.
I was very surprised. With that.
And then
I don't
you've
think
got
there is one.
Edron, South Shore Generator,
That run has been done.
okay,
We just have to wait until the, and then this will get updated.
okay. Pioneer Consulting Group, what do they do?
Pioneer?
Yeah, Pioneer Consulting Group,
I haven't got a clue.
okay, me neither. The visiting nurses,
I think we actually were signing that tonight, I think.
okay, all right, and then Plympton Sand and Gravel for contracting for highway. Do you want to check with Jim, see if he's
Yeah,
still
that's-
using them? Or I can check with Jim, because I'm the highway liaison.
All right.
I'll do that one. All right, so I'll check with Jim on Plympton Sand and Gravel. And you think most of the other ones have come in? So do we just want to get this updated from Bree or from Barbara?
Because I saw, I have to wait until the first. Some of
Okay.
them require money, and I can't do anything because they're looking for payment, and.
Plimpton Sand and Gravel,
So I have a lot
okay.
of them in as my warrants. When you renew the contract with the Edron, say,
Okay,
they want the payment.
okay,
So I hold it
Okay.
off until then.
okay. All right.
I
You
don't know who Pioneer Consultants is for.
want to try to find out?
It rings a bell, and I'm just not sure what it is, so, I don't know.
I don't know if it was a
Is that
solar
one of the
thing?
ones that's solar, then they changed their name?
Could
I
be.
don't know.
All right, it shouldn't take too long to figure out that one. Okay, so expiring contracts, we'll put that on next week's agenda. KP billing options for June 2017?
Yeah, we can,
What's Barbara recommend? Do we-
Let's leave that one for the
You wanna
time
hold that
being.
one?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll hold that till,
All right,
No.
so that one probably, let's see, this is asking for our response by June 9th, so we're,
They can wait. They can wait.
okay.
holding.
John said we could wait.
All right, so you met
So we'll
with,
look at that next week.
yeah, we'll hold that for next week. So you met with Rich Bowen to talk about the possibility of
Yeah,
him
he's
as a
coming in next
secondary?
week.
Okay, so he is interested?
Oh, yeah, he's coming in next week.
Okay,
So that's on the
I
agenda.
guess I
That'll be
didn't
on the
update it.
agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
I had a breakfast meeting with him. In fact, Greg Corbo was apparently his assistant, or
Ah.
at the time when Rich Bowen was with KP. It was a good discussion. I think in terms of hourly rate, it would be no more and maybe less than KP. We need to talk about that. He also indicated some areas where he thought he may be able to help us, so we can talk about that next week.
all right,
So he's
perfect.
on for, he would like to come in a little early too and talk to some people to get a better sense of where we are in the town that day. So he's going to come in and talk to Barbara, and let him talk to Colleen Moore and Tara and whoever's around.
Good.
So what time is Rich, 6?
6.
And then the chief is at 7, is that correct?
Yes, though, Rich he can do it either way. He said he's got no, if we want to make the fire chief 6 and Rich 7, that's 2. That's fine too.
Okay, so we just have to let him know. Did you already book the chief
Have we booked the chief?
for a
we
time?
don't have a time. I thought, well, I think, I
I
used to
think
do
it was 7.
6:30.
Yeah, but I think it was 7 o'clock. For some reason, I remember something that, anyways.
I
can
have
you
7
check?
written down.
Yeah,
Let's do the chief at 7.
Yeah, and we'll do Rich at 6. Okay,
Do I do him at 6:15 to get a little, or do you want him right at 6?
we can do right at 6.
Okay, 6 o'clock, Rich.
Just back on the KP law billing options, one of the things I want to ask them to do is put everything on an Excel spreadsheet so that we can track it. Rather, huh? I want to be able to, each segment. So you got a bill?
No,
Somebody's got a bill there, I just saw it.
I don't have a.
No,
You mean so that some ongoing issue, we can see how it's
So, just
adding
like we
up?
do with fire, so let's say, you've got January, February, March, April, May, total budget, and we'll, each month we'll be able to see how we're progressing as the bills come in, by segment, how much for Maple Street, how much for Rocky Harvest, et
I
cetera.
think we'd have to do that ourselves.
No, there's no reason they can't do it. We pay them $170 an hour, they can figure out how to do it and send it to us.
Okay, I talked to Antonetta today, so I'm waiting, I'm gonna get the breakdown for whatever
Right,
it
no,
was
I'm-
by the.
right.
But I think we're
I'm really talking July on. I just want,
yeah, going forward
yeah,
rather than.
it's crazy that they don't do it to begin with, and if they have a problem, then they should come talk to us.
Maybe I can ask her, she can send it with the bill each month?
Yeah.
With the statement?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's just the same information that's on the statement. It's
Right.
just in a web, on a spreadsheet form.
Right. I mean, if you asked me how much we spent to date by the different pieces, I couldn't tell you.
No,
It's all kind of here and there.
Yeah, she's gonna give me, like I said, so you can see what you did spend last year on each.
Right,
And
but
they just started doing that. It
but I
wasn't
want to
like
see
that.
it in an Excel spreadsheet so that we can manipulate it.
okay.
I think we also will have to tell them then also.
Sure. I'd be glad to talk to them
Yeah,
and
she
give them a
was good
form.
at it, they didn't have Maple Street as Maple Street. They didn't have, so
Right,
now they labeled them.
okay,
Because it was one time you wanted to know, the board wanted to know how much it cost was up to date.
Right.
And then they grouped it. And then
Okay.
I think they started to see that it was gonna become an issue, and they started to put these things, and they have their own topic now.
okay. Yeah, as they should.
Like we called it 18, I called up and I said, how much was the project for the public safety?
Okay,
So up to date, it's $7,900. Getting.
okay.
So I can ask her from a go-forward basis too, John, if you want to talk, if they can start to group everything like that.
Yeah, I'd be glad to
Yeah,
talk to her.
that's the best
Yeah.
way to do it.
'Cause it was kind of difficult, you had to go through and highlight, so.
Okay, so y'all set with KP?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. All right, Collins Center, we already talked about that, so check. We'll hold that for next, or have a report next week. Dennett Water Project, we did that with John Williamson, and Public Safety Building Complex, we already discussed with John. Anything to add on either one of those?
Nope.
Okay. All right, appointments, check. We don't have Dale, but we did talk about the rural school aid. Do you know, did he get any proposals from CEC Solar yet?
No, he said he has not heard
Okay.
anything back.
Okay. All right, so let's go on to correspondence.
Okay.
Can I have just one thing? You know, we did the Board of Selectmen liaisons, we just,
Yeah.
did that ever go out to anybody?
I don't know.
Actually, there was a little bit of discussion today when I was in Brio's office, and
Yeah, I have my.
were you going to do it, or was Tara going to do it, send out?
No, I think we were going to do it.
I think we should send it out, so everybody knows. I'd send both sheets, you know, the one, just make it a general distribution, so everybody knows they can find theirs,
Right.
and then they can see how we're.
How about putting our contact information on there?
Sure.
Phone and email.
Okay.
Because what's the point of being a liaison if they can't contact you?
I was going to.
Unless that's the intent.
There's always a Navajo in the basket weaving course, you know?
I was going to.
Okay, I'll do that.
Them in by group, by the name. So I
Huh?
was gonna send whoever John has, assessor.
No, I want to see everybody get the whole list, so they know.
I think I put the list in the paper last cycle.
You did, yeah.
I did.
I took notes
So-
on who's the liaison for.
This is by alphabetical order, and I was gonna do it by selectmen and then alphabetical order.
John did it both ways, so you can send it both ways.
Oh, I'll send you this
Yeah,
one.
he did
too. This
alphabetical
is-
order and by selectmen.
But, so what I'll do is, see, that's in an Excel spreadsheet. I'll add the
Yeah.
telephone and the email, and then what
Perfect.
I do is I just transfer it to Word to make it look pretty.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah, if you send me, I can do.
So
Okay.
you'll send that out to
distribution list.
everybody.
Okay, I'll do that.
perfect.
I only have this one. that I
That's
read.
terrific. Okay,
All right.
correspondence.
Correspondence. So this is the Visiting Nurse Association.
Perfect. Good timing.
Contract for 2018. I think we discussed this previously, so I make a motion that this be signed tonight.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
Two places, I think, and here's one.
Thank you. I'll be Colleen Thompson.
I did it again?
And then there's one, a second one.
And today is 6/12/17, okay?
And there you go. All right, let's save that. The Board of Selectmen warrants, Eversource signed this week, Eversource $400, US Bank, which I guess is the top here, $155, Comcast
Keep that
Business,
straight,
106. What's this one?
I don't, but Barbara will have it anyway,
All right.
right? Yeah.
This is, I guess, to the town accountant from you? Does that sound right?
Okay, no, I guess they want us to do that to transfer money to pay a bill.
Yes, all right. So do you,
I don't know anything about it, but go ahead and,
all right, so this says, this, I guess,
I had to write it
I'm not,
down.
or it must be from town accountant?
no, I guess it's to the town accountant.
Okay, from us. This is a request to have $7,000 $971.82 transferred from the professional legal line and applied to the article written for the public safety building complex. This amount is the legal cost from K&P for the partial land purchase of 18 Elm Street.
But that makes perfect sense.
It does.
Okay.
So
All
do
right.
we have to do a motion on this, or?
Yes, we
Yep.
should make a motion.
All right, so I make a motion that we approve this action.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so I'll sign that and give that to Bree.
Yep. All right, a couple emails. This is from Dale. Did we draft a letter of support?
Yes,
This
we
is-
did.
And we did, so we know that's okay. Just maybe to reinforce, email today with capital letters and important and several exclamation points, front doors being left unlocked on the townhouse. This is to all town employees, board and committees from Bree, and it's a fervently written letter asking people to lock the darn door on nights and weekends.
Yeah.
And apparently this is a recurring problem, especially on weekends. I can see the issue kind of during the weekdays when there are more than one committee going on, but obviously at nights, all of us and all boards and committees just have to be fastidious in locking the doors.
So it was found on Saturday afternoon.
Okay.
Wow.
When the police came to your house.
So how long was it unlocked?
Well,
Probably from Thursday.
So this,
No, Friday.
You think so?
Because Steve cleans here.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right.
And
He
he
does,
locks
yeah.
the-
Okay.
so it was-
Friday afternoon then?
this is an email that actually from Ted Taranto of Open Space Committee to me a few days ago. Open Space had some concerns about Eversource's marking of trees and the cutting down. And I explored that with the tree warden and got back to Open Space. As I understand it from the tree warden, you and he had been in contact about this. Open
Well-
Space had some concern. As I understand it, Eversource, any tree that's coming down that's on private property, they consult and get a signature from the owner. The trees that are on town property, our tree warden takes care of signing off on that. He emphasized to me that anyone that had any concern about any trees that are marked for removal, he's glad to speak with people about it. So.
Thank you for handling that.
Plympton Express, Silver Lake graduation, reports on our selectmen meetings the last couple of weeks. There is a ZBA notice in there about a variance hearing a week from now. And lots of color pictures.
They were beautiful, beautiful pictures.
And with pleasure, I report that completes correspondence.
Terrific. Check.
You want to update on one more thing? the fire?
Okay, sure.
So we've got consultants' reports from Carlson Group. This is on the Fire Services Consulting. Carlson Group and Matrix Consulting Group. MRI will send,
Perfect.
they'd like to get in. And I still haven't heard from Ernest Horn, so I'll follow up on that, and hopefully we'll have said that. So now we get these people in to talk about it.
So how are we going to proceed? We'll have 3 or 4? and
3 or 4,
We're going to invite them in, or?
just like we did with, yep.
So is that a process we can start pretty soon?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just want to, you saw the Matrix one that came in. I mean, it's 32 pages, and it's a little off target, which I think probably was my email. I sent out one email that was kind of skimpy in terms of what we want, and I just need to go back to them because they came in at $36,000. They were going to interview Halifax. I mean, we're not going to do that. We need, so I got to draw them back, say, look, this is the scope we want to look at, and then have them resubmit it.
And we
Most of this is
actually- We know
boilerplate.
the upper limit of what we have.
20,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
and I'm assuming half of this will go away when they do.
Okay.
The other thing with the fire, Barbara and I met with Warren and Dylan to sketch out a job description for the clerk. Okay, so come July 1st, we'll be looking for a clerk. And Barbara, it's going to be $15 an hour. I don't know who wants to be in the interviewing process. I do, but I want Barbara in it too.
And that is going to be Warren's decision ultimately, or is it going to be the committee's
I
decision?
think we'll have a joint decision. Good, and we want Dylan. Dylan's doing a lot of the work now, so
Yeah.
we want him to buy into this. So that's just an update on what we're doing.
Okay, so you have, the job description is not completed, but you're working on it.
Yes, and I
Okay.
hope to have something in the next week.
Okay, so all we're discussing with Chief Borsari is the possibility of converting or transferring a police vehicle to fire. Is that correct? Because he's not ready to talk about the grant. We're just talking about the vehicle, right?
Just to talk about the vehicle, and he was gonna talk about the job description.
Well, it sounds like they've been working on it, so there's no
I
need to
think
talk
we'll-
about
Next
it.
week, I mean, we can do the job
Sure,
description.
he can talk about it then. Maybe you'll be further ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Okay.
it was to meet with them today.
Yeah,
like you
we
said,
did,
and then
yeah,
do the
yeah.
update.
So I can do an
Perfect.
update next week.
That sounds perfect. Okay.
I'm
All
done.
right, so any other business? All right, dates to remember.
Are we doing rants and raves?
Yeah, that's the
or-
very last thing, though.
Oh, sorry. Oh, darn.
All right, so we're
can't wait.
meeting next week, and Bree, we have to have the agenda to Tara by Wednesday, because she's attending a conference on Thursday. So we'll get moving on the agenda.
We'll do that tomorrow.
Yep,
So I will do that again by 11.
perfect. Okay, so 6:19, 6:26, and then we go to 7:10, 7:17, 7:24, and 7:31. Other meetings that we're attending, on the 14th, John and Mark are meeting with Dale to discuss the town coordinator administrator transition planning, and we are tentatively scheduled, and that's posted, 6:22, to meet with the bylaw review committee to discuss the plan for the review of the bylaws.
And legal,
Yeah,
the hours.
exactly. Okay, so now, what minutes we're going to hold, we'll do the minutes next week, so we'll have this week's and last week's for the next one. And rants and raves?
Rants and raves. One thing about rants and raves, you should go last as chairperson. You should have the last word.
Oh, I don't care about having the last word, but,
Okay.
okay.
I
If
just think-
you want me to go last, I'll go last.
So I have a,
She likes to go last. That is.
John, that's so good. Every woman should have the last.
she should. She's the chairperson.
Oh, my goodness.
You can correct
Oh,
anything.
my God, it's getting thick in here. Okay, go ahead. Do your rant and rave.
Don't write that down.
I have a rant and a rave. The rant is for all these people who go through our town and toss stuff out the window. It just drives people crazy. I get the beer cans and the nips because they don't want them in the car if they get stopped by the police. But throwing out Dunkin' Donuts and McDonald's stuff, the rave is for the people who go around their street and pick up. And there's a lot of them, and we appreciate it. We got a beautiful town. Let's keep it that way.
Here, here, very good. Okay, you want to go next?
Yeah, no raving. My rant is actually from the Council on Aging blurb that came out, I think, in the last couple days. There is a full page of discounts. And the buy of the century here is National Park Service that charge $50 a year for a sticker. You can buy a lifetime pass if you're old like some of us.
I've got one.
For $10.
Right.
That lasts a
Wow,
lifetime.
sweet.
But there are probably 150 discounts ranging from 10 to 50% on all kinds of enterprises. So something to take a look at for those of us that are getting a little older.
Wow, and nice job.
I had already been
yeah.
to Dairy Queen when I found this out.
Oh my God. Did Joy do that? Joy Marble?
I presume it's
Yeah,
her.
I assume it's her package.
Wow, well, nice job. That's nice to get all that information out. Excellent. All right, so I just have two raves. My first is to Barbara and Colleen. I read the auditor's report, and it is getting so small. Congratulations to them. They've done such a great job addressing financial issues They really have done an amazing job.
It's kudos, I agree with you.
Yeah, they're doing a great job with that. And my last one would be just a rave to our local farmers. The flowers at Sunrise Gardens are gorgeous. Sawchuck Farms, I mean, just if you can, buy local. We have some amazing farmers here, and we need to support them to help them stay in business and keep our town
I
beautiful.
see Sawcheck now is doing Billingsgate.
Oh,
over on
really?
106.
Oh, he took that over because
Yeah.
they left,
Yeah,
right? Billingsgate sold. Good, well, good for him. I've heard he has the most amazing mango salsa. Well, I've had it. It's delicious. But people say, you know, the honey, everything. Yeah, so.
Those muffins are good.
All right, so that's all we've got. All right, motion to adjourn?
Second.
So moved.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Good night, thank you for watching. See you next week.